Hey, Patriots fans, if you want to see Toyota's best offers, including those not seen on TV, go to buyatoyota.com. It's Toyota's official website for deals from the official vehicle of the New England Patriots, Toyota. Let's go places. All right.
Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
Today's cut day.
So at any moment, someone could just walk in here and cut one of us, right?
Funny you should say that, because I thought there was a chance yesterday as Bill was walking into the studio to do some stuff for All Access. He came out, kind of stopped it. He goes, "Oh, hey, Paul."
Wow.
Made it through another one.
That's good. Running back room is Stevenson, Ezekiel,
Elliot. We're just going by first names.
Yeah.
David Harris.
Kevin Harris.
Kevin.
He said he gave me a set of irons.
Nice.
Ooh.
What kind?
I don't know. I didn't look at him yet.
He gave you his irons. You haven't even looked at him yet, and you're already needling.
I know. Did you at least thank him?
Of course I did.
Or did you just toss him into the thing without even looking
he
at him?
said-
Thanks. Yahoo is reporting the Patriots have cut Chasen Hines.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
we reported that about 45
Oh,
minutes
we did?
ago.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he was good.
Mike DeSalt.
Mentioned it with my words.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Thursday here at Gillette Stadium, and we have a lot to talk about. It's Deuce, it's Tamara, it's Evan, it's Paul, it's me, Matt in the booth. Cut downs, but boy, there was some machinations on the Patriots' part. I've been here for almost 30 years, and I never remember, after cut downs were announced, having one quarterback on the roster and two running backs. So this was a new way of doing it. And I want to get into all of that, like why maybe, we can talk about our theories. But I thought it was really interesting. I also want to talk maybe later in the show, Deuce and Paul, PP and the Deuce had the top 10 Brady,
12.
top 12, I'm sorry.
Didn't shortchange
Brady
you.
moments. I want to talk about that because people
Yeah.
really liked it. But I want to have a different way of doing it.
Okay.
I want to talk about just a moment. It doesn't even have to be a game they won.
Sure.
Just moments.
Yeah.
And so I have a list that I made
Cool.
to start it off. And so we'll do a different take on that. We'll do that later in the show.
I like it.
Right off the top, we got to talk about these
don't
cuts.
care
Who
for
wants to start?
I don't know. They're all back, so do we have to talk about it? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I know they're back
No.
in the practice squad,
Yeah.
but it was a risky way of doing it.
Yeah.
Would you all agree?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
As Bill says, anytime you release a player, you have to be
That's right.
prepared to be without that
And
player.
apparently they were prepared to have one quarterback for a while, right?
Yeah.
So who's got a take on this? Anyone?
I definitely, it's interesting because we obviously saw how the final preseason game went for Bailey Zappe. And we saw him struggle throughout camp. He had a lot of highs and lows, bit of a roller coaster, but you never suspected that a guy they drafted when they did, and actually someone posted on Twitter, it was a trade that they were able to get Bailey Zappe and Marte Mapu with the trade from, who was it, the Cardinals? I can't remember who it was. But it's for them to be able to get him, have him be your backup. He, of course, had a rocky situation, but then you decide to waive him. I don't think anyone saw that in the
Right.
cards, especially because you cut McSorley as well.
Yeah,
so
you
it's
could have very easily lost him. You could have lost Cunningham and literally had one quarterback.
Yeah, and then I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, well, what backups are out there that got cut?
Colt McCoy
all
is everyone's talking
all I can
about.
think of is Colt McCoy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that who you want?
Apparently, that's all anyone could think of. 'Cause
Is
that's the
Bailey
only
Zappe
name I've
better than
heard.
Colt McCoy?
I don't know.
I
Probably
don't.
about the same, right?
Right, and I think that's the general point. I think people are missing the boat on this and making it about Bailey Zappe because Bailey Zappes are a dime a dozen. You can find backup quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I think the bigger conversation here is what we've been beating the dead horse on, which is tackle. They are carrying 11 offensive linemen. 11. And I went back and looked for the last decade at their initial rosters. This is the most that they've carried in the Belichick era, I think. And, the ones in the early 2000s that get a little bit murky. Not everything was online yet.
You
and
are
everything
correct.
Like that.
I
But-
have it all the way through, and he never kept 11 offensive
Right, so he's
linemen
kept 10
on the
before.
initial.
But 11 is a high watermark for them, and the average is around 8 or 9. That's typically where they're at.
And it's been 8 since the new practice squad, the way it is.
Right, so they are carrying 11 offensive linemen, because they don't have a right tackle.
Yeah.
And, the old saying of if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks.
Right.
If you have 6 tackles, you have no tackles. Like
Yeah.
that's the bottom line. And so they had to go thin in other spots because they have to keep their options open at right tackle. And that means that the
But
2 new
it's
guys.
risky.
But going thin,
no doubt
at,
about it.
all these
going
guys
thin at quarterback is crazy.
it's crazy, and all these guys on the practice squad can get gobbled up by another team. Now that team has to put them on their active roster for a number of weeks
3.
right away. So there is a consequence to that, but still,
Yeah.
there's a risk here.
There was
There
a risk.
definitely
Yeah.
is.
I don't think it was as big a risk as it was made out to be. I agree with Evan's portrayal of the roster because I think that's why they had to do what they did. It was roster sort of manipulation. I totally agree with Evan's point.
But I wanna
They
know-
didn't want to keep 11 offensive linemen, but the combination of a lack of known quantities and injuries made them do it.
So this tells me that before September 10th, there's going to be a lot more moves.
Yeah, they
right?
got an open roster spot
Yeah.
and an open practice spot right now.
And then B, it's going to be news every Sunday, like who's on the 45,
oh yeah.
or 46 now on game day.
Isn't that news all the time?
No, but more so now because I think there's going to be all kinds of.
My Saturday
didn't they
roster
just do this
elevation's
2
going
years
to be
ago?
off.
Yeah.
I think
off
there's
the
going to be
hook.
all kinds of movement
Yeah,
I
up and down, given who the opponent is.
I mean, do you think that Zappe just gets promoted to the active roster and
He's
they
got
just
to.
put him
If
into
they don't
that
sign
spot?
a backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they're still looking. I mean, based on various reporters, Mike Giardi,
Curran.
Current, I think they're looking for a veteran backup. And to Evan's point, I think Colt McCoy is probably a better player than Bailey Zappe, but he's not better in week 1
and he's
No.
because
also,
he doesn't know the system.
he might be a better NFL quarterback, but he may not be a better Patriots quarterback because he has no knowledge of the system.
Yeah, and to that point, I just wonder what was up with Zappe in the Bill O'Brien system because I just thought it was funny last year. One of the common refrains you heard was Zappe was like, "Well, he looks more comfortable in the Matt Patricia offense. Like he looks like he's knowing what to do." I wonder how much of the switch in system might have had to do with Zappe's regression. If he had trouble kind of picking things
I
up.
think what we saw of Zappe had everything to do with what was out there with him. I think if
I
he
totally agree with
I
you,
think if
Fred.
he was out there with the starting line as it is, I know it's even now it's not the starting line, but if he was there with the front line guys that were healthy, he'd have looked a lot better.
He would have looked better,
But how much? I think.
Oh, I'm not saying Mac Jones. I'm not saying he'd have been competing with Mac Jones.
No.
But he wouldn't have looked as bad as he did.
Oh,
But you
yeah,
think he
I
would have
agree
not
with that.
gotten cut if he
Yeah.
had a chance to play with what they at the time had as
No, I
top-line
think
guy
he would have
players?
gotten cut. I think I think Evan nailed
I
it.
agree. He would have got
You
cut
just had no
regardless.
choice.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
it had a lot to do with how well or poorly he played as much as it did the situation with the roster. They had to do something.
I mean,
And
what did Kevin Harris do wrong?
the
right?
reason-
he got cut.
the
you know?
reason, well, he didn't get any yards. Like that's
No, he had a couple
than
good
that.
runs. He had a couple.
and I like
He
Kevin
got
Harris.
cut last
Yeah.
year too.
I am sort of especially for me, I am abnormally tied to Kevin Harris. He's done absolutely nothing
It's
in
the
2
thighs.
years,
It's the
but
thighs.
I like it. I like him. With the whole roster situation, I just feel like they got themselves in a bind. And the reason I said that I don't think it was as big a risk is exactly what you saw. Like 20 some odd guys got claimed, no quarterbacks. And I don't think that's a surprise because to claim a guy, you have to have him on your roster now for 3 weeks. You're going to have a guy on your roster for 3 weeks that probably can't play for you. Does that make any sense? So you're gonna roster a guy for 3 weeks, then put him on the practice squad, so you continue to like. To me, that there's not a huge chance of that
Well,
happening.
do we all agree that they're not going to go into the season with 11 linemen on the 53?
I think Riley Reif is the only one
Yeah.
that could potentially go to
Yeah.
injured reserve.
But he didn't yesterday, so
Yeah, well, Taekwon didn't officially yesterday either.
no, he
so-
didn't. All right.
So maybe I don't know why that didn't hit the wire yet, but it hasn't. I just, to me, it's the same thing that we've been talking about all summer with the offensive line, and they have to keep their options open at tackle. They have to have the depth. They have to have these new guys and see what the trade acquisitions are going to be for them. And City So is a developmental rookie, and you have two veteran guys in Anderson and Reif, I am on the record thinking he's over the hill. Anderson started 12 games in 3 seasons, and you have the two new guys that you got via trade. Normally you would have a proven left tackle, a proven right tackle, a swing tackle, and then maybe you have So on the roster as your developmental guy, as the 9th guy on the offensive line.
I don't know. I kind of think that they're going to use these. Well, there's only like 10 days left, but these last days to make a final judgment. And then they'll make another round of cuts.
Yeah.
I mean, think that could happen, but I also can understand what Evan's talking about, because I don't know how you can go into a game against Philadelphia, Michael Onwenu, Cole Strange, Riley Reif, the 2 guys they just picked up. How do you have any idea what you're going to get out of those guys?
And Calvin Anderson.
I know. That's the thing.
Right?
But
so they're all. I think they're all going to be on the roster.
I know, but what are you going to do? Use the game as a tryout?
No, you have to. You can't go into the game and then all of a sudden, okay, so you know what? We practiced 3 straight days with Strange, Onwenu, and Anderson. And then all of a sudden, it's the middle of the first quarter. These guys, they're not ready. But I don't have anybody on the bench. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And I'd also, we've talked about it before too, that very seldom in week 1 do offensive linemen go wire to wire.
Right.
So there might be a rotation anyways on the offensive line, just because guys, their endurance is not up to play 70 snaps in an NFL game right out of the gate. So they had to keep the depth on the offensive line. Zappe was collateral damage to the fact that they never truly aggressively addressed right tackle in the offseason. That was their worst, in my mind, that was their worst position on the entire roster last year.
I think they started screwing with this offensive line when they named Joe Thuney with the franchise tag. I think that was the beginning of the end of consistent
mismanagement.
Yeah.
I mean, to Evan's point, if Reif and Strange can't go next weekend, who's the third guard? Like, who is going to rotate in with Onwenu, who I guess has to go wire to wire, and Antonio Maffi? There's no other real guard. I mean, Cody Russi, Jake Andrews. I mean, I don't know what if
I'm not so much worried about the guard.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I would put Russi in that situation too. Like, I don't know what his health is with all the time that he missed.
A lot of questions.
So I do think. I think Reif is a candidate to get you another roster spot to go on IR. I don't know the extent of his injury. It didn't look great when he got rolled up on against Tennessee. But beyond that, unless you just decide the 2 guys you picked up, all right, we worked with them for 2 weeks, they can't play.
Right.
And we're going to get rid of them. Right. I don't.
It's just.
I don't know if you're going to get a huge change from the 11 they have now. It's not, I don't think they're only going to have 8.
Yeah.
They need bodies.
You just saw it coming. You saw it coming in the offseason on paper, and then as soon as they got into padded practices in training camp, you saw it coming there as well, that they never addressed right tackle with a premium asset. They didn't spend big money on it. They didn't draft anybody early, and they had a bunch of darts that they were just going to throw at the board, and this was pre all the injuries. Like, don't give me that Riley Reif got hurt and Connor McDermott got hurt and all that. Like, no, those guys were not good options to begin with.
And then they just traded for more darts.
Yeah.
They traded for more darts.
I wouldn't feel any better if those 2 guys were 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah,
They had 6 offensive linemen, 6 tackles in free agency that were actual starters. Not Riley Reif coming in week 8 for the Bears, but were permanent starters on their teams before, and 5 of them changed teams. So it wasn't like you didn't have options.
And they weren't all big money.
Yeah. So for me, there weren't any surprise cuts. It was just a surprise method of handling
that
the
was
day.
a surprise. I mean, that was a surprise. I mean, I have to admit, like, the only one that I heard, and you heard some rumblings with the backup quarterback situation, but Matt Smith that morning came in and he goes, I got
socks. People know
I said, I got a surprise cut candidate for you. And he said, Bailey Zappe. And I said, yeah, I don't see it. I don't, I'm not going to tell you it's out of the realm, but I don't see it.
Well, technically he wasn't cut.
Well,
and we had
like he could have been.
Oh, I think
up.
technically he was cut.
I know, but
and I would also say
his bank account knows he was cut.
I would also say
that's
that
a question I have. By the way, go ahead.
I wanted to bring out, because when I like to admit when I'm 100% wrong, there's opinions, this, that. We had a call, I think, on the pregame show last week that brought this up. Bailey Zappe, and it's like the situation with quarterback, and he hasn't played well. And I kind of laughed, and I said, well, it's not like he's going to get cut. And he got cut. So I like to be full disclosure.
Find that sound.
So my question, and maybe Evan or I don't know, any of you can answer. when a guy like Harris or Zappe got drafted and then they get cut and then you bring them back,
Rookie
is that a whole
contract.
new contract?
Yes.
The new contract, yes.
Yeah.
So that is a loss of money for them.
Yeah.
It's not just a loss.
Not much.
Yeah, it is. It's like $600K.
I mean, like you're a 4th-round pick. That's a lot of money.
Zappe's rookie deal that would have paid him around $900K.
Oh, if
this
you're
year.
talking about if he stays in the practice squad?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if he's going to end up back on the roster. And he's going to make like $870,000.
Right, but he
That's what
doesn't
was
come
gonna
back
make.
as a 4th-round pick. He
No.
comes
No,
back as
as
just
year to year.
second
Right.
year minimum, which is
Right.
very similar to a 4th-round
Is it?
pick. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
But
Not
the-
that
all
different.
right.
But the
No,
bigger,
no, I'm just
wait.
saying, but you guys are right. If it's a practice squad, it's a big gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's
the
like
bigger
12,000
thing
a week.
to
Oh,
me
yeah,
is
yeah.
that it rips up year 3 and year 4
Yes.
of the contract. So
Yes.
he's year to year now
Yeah.
with the Patriots. So
That's the money he loses.
So that's the money he loses, but that's also the team control that they lose. Like, let's say in the offseason, somebody looks at Bailey Zappe and looks at that rookie film and says, well, if the Patriots are done with him, then we actually, think something of him, and they want to make a trade for him. Well, now he's not under contract.
True.
Or let's say he ends up having to play this year, which I
So
hope doesn't happen.
He loses his guaranteed years, but he gains flexibility.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this is what
I
I'm
don't
talking
know.
about. He didn't have guaranteed years. This is like
That's
you
true.
don't just sign you don't just sign as a 4th-round pick and have 4
I
guaranteed
know,
years.
but like if he stayed, he knew how much money he was going to make.
Yeah.
Right. Well, all
my
signs are-
guess is
yeah.
he's going to end up if he ends up playing well, he'll make more money.
Yeah.
Because I also think if you're right, Fred, and they had no intentions of losing him, they're going to give him a little something. Say, listen, this is what we're going to do, but we're going to make it up to you.
I found it's actually a tweet from Alex Barth that he quote tweeted from earlier.
Who?
It's like Alex Barth.
Barth.
Hopefully
I
he's
know.
listening to
Barth.
this.
The Barth
But
tender.
So I did not realize that when it was the Panthers who traded up to get Matt Corral, which then the Patriots were able to get Bailey Zappi and Marte Mapu. I'm like, it's so sad. It's like, when you're going to benefit from trading back or trading up with people, I wish that those were turned into 2 valuable picks. 1, we hope Marte Mapu is. But 2, I'm like, I hope Bailey Zappi turns it around because it's like a backup is clearly hard to find nowadays.
Yeah.
And then there was another tweet that was like they were looking at Tommy DeVito, who they had in the Shrine Bowl. And I'm like, really? Over Bailey Zappi?
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
Yeah.
that's not a veteran pick.
No.
Why would it take so long, though? I mean, don't you feel like they're to get somebody in here ASAP? Like, if they're going to get another quarterback,
That's
they're
why I
gonna
think
get
I
Bailey
can't-
Zappi is the backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Whether they sign someone today or not, that person's not going to be ready
Yeah.
to play in the game.
No.
I
Like
also-
you can't,
yeah.
at that position, I think that's asking too much.
Yeah.
I'm also looking around like, where?
One
Outside
team did that.
I would have taken Will Greer.
Out of the
I
last,
do like him.
Brady's available.
out of the last 10 or 15
You know
years,
Back up.
something? You know something, Fred?
I will say Will Greer's great.
Yeah, I like
think-
Will Greer. I think Colt McCoy is like your classic like Brian Hoyer veteran backup quarterback.
only better.
But
Just bring back Brian Hoyer.
I do also want to
first of all,
say
he's on a team, but
yeah, he's on the Raiders. He made the Raiders.
Oh, okay.
But this is different than so a lot of people have brought up Mac's rookie year in 2021 when he was the only quarterback on the roster for a day.
For a day.
Also, but they cut Cam knowing that Cam had no role here anymore, and they cut Hoyer, who was a vested veteran, so he wasn't subject to waivers. So they knew when they cut Hoyer, they had a little wink, wink, nod, nod, like we're gonna cut you for procedural reasons, but you're coming right back. They didn't subject Hoyer to 31 other teams poaching him off of waivers. So this is totally a different situation. Like they dangled Zappe out there and gambled.
And I don't know, you never know what is exactly true and what's not, but Tom Pelissero had a tweet yesterday that said there were 7 teams interested in bringing Bailey Zappe into the practice squad. Again, there's a difference between no one claimed him on waivers and no one had interest in him.
Right.
The waivers thing is much different because it locks you into 3 weeks on the roster, and roster spots are valuable. So I do think that Evan's point, that's the difference between 2 years ago and this year. They really had no chance to lose Brian Hoyer. They cut a guy. They know that this is what we're going to do. You're going to end up back on the roster. It's not going to cost you any money.
Right.
Just sit tight.
And I remember
they
at the
did it.
time the word procedural was brought up.
Right. This, I don't think, was procedural.
No.
I think
this
that's
was a
the way.
calculated risk.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
think that's the way it worked out. But I think they were perfectly fine if it didn't work out this way. I don't know what they would have done, I don't know what they're going to do, but I think that they were okay with it.
And that's fine. Like, I'm okay with it. Like, I don't because I don't really look at Bailey Zappe as any different than any other backup
I'm okay with it
quarterback.
too because I think you're done when your backup quarterback has to play. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the length of the injury for your starter. If it's a couple games, you need a backup that can keep you up afloat. Maybe win you a game or two. And I think that's important. When you are a team that has high expectations, you need to have all your bases covered. And one of them is I might lose my quarterback for a game or half a game or 2 games.
If you have high expectations, that won't hurt you.
It will if you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, it won't.
I just have.
If you have high expectations and you lose a quarterback for a game and you lose a game that you thought you were going to win, all right. So we're still in the playoffs because we're
guy.
great.
I don't know, just Amir Speed, Sean Wade, one of those guys couldn't have made it through. And I think that it's more than how's this affected the player? I mean, did you just blindside Bailey Zappe, and now is he invested as much?
So that's what I'm far more interested in than the rest of this.
I wonder if a conversation was made ahead of time. Like,
It was not.
Oh, you know that?
I do know.
Okay.
The word that I got from somebody in Zappe's camp was blindsided.
Wow.
We were as blindsided.
It's my understanding.
So do you? Man, I'll get that's more of an off-air conversation. I'm with Mike on this, and as you guys know, the nuts and bolts I leave to others like Evan, and I'm much more fascinated in the interactions and the quote unquote drama.
Yeah.
Okay, so last year I don't think that they could have handled Mac Jones any worse than they did, and they, I think it's gotten almost a full year before the head coach has started once again to refer to him as Mac Jones. How long did we go before we even heard his name from Bill? So we're finally getting that back, and now let's see what we can do to alienate the backup.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't like that. There was a lot of talk about Bill O'Brien. This was a Bill O'Brien power play because he wanted to make good for Mac and keep, does that make any sense to anybody?
No.
I do think it makes sense that, and just based off of what we saw in Tennessee on the sideline, I don't think it was working with Bailey Zappe in this offense.
Oh no, he was upset with that throw that he made to Malik Cunningham.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah. Now
we saw that on our broadcast.
Him not working in the system and understanding Bill O'Brien's offense, that's one thing. But doing it to make Mac feel better, absolutely not.
No,
Right.
I
That's my
genuinely
point.
think that they looked at Bailey Zappe's performance in training camp and said, we can find this with 10 other guys that are probably going to hit the waiver wire because, let's be honest, he was bad. It wasn't just in the games. He was bad in practice too. And I think Mac talked a lot about the mental stress that this offense puts on the quarterback. It's all on the quarterback at the line of scrimmage to get the offense in the right play, get the protection set, adjust to things after the snap, and that seemed to bog Bailey Zappe down. I don't think that that's the type of guy that he is. I think he despite his physical limitations, I think he's kind of a gunslinger. I think he wants to push the ball down the field.
What was it, Eastern Illinois? Where he was?
Western Kentucky.
Western Kentucky. One of those.
In Houston,
no, he was a
Baptist.
gunslinger.
Yeah,
over there.
he's a playmaker. I use that word lightly because he's not Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, obviously, but he's not a quarterback that wants to read full field progressions and have sight adjustments and route options. And I got to set the protections and I got to, we have 2 plays called in the huddle and I have to pick the best one based off of this and that. And I just don't think that is his game. And last year it was certainly not that complicated and they watered it down to almost high school level. And he's just running play action and averaging 17 yards per attempt off play action.
So again, the old PU adage, look at what they do, not what they say. Mm-hmm. And what they're doing is telling us that this, like Evan said, this offensive line is a work in progress. Yeah. They don't know.
No question.
What it's going to be like.
Beyond that, was anything surprising to anybody?
Not really.
They haven't really gotten together and talked about any of this stuff, which is very rare.
Well, everything. But when you know why they did it, then nothing else becomes a surprise. But when you first look at it,
that was a surprise.
Having just 2 running backs, was a surprise.
Yes, I would agree.
I thought they were going to keep, they waived Sokol. I thought they would keep him.
Right.
But now you understand they needed those spots, and they were willing to risk all those guys they waived.
The only one I was like,
or not waived, but
was
released.
like Amir Speed. Did he blow your mind that much to put him on the roster?
I was shocked that he made the team.
Like that's the one I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Because Belichick last week called him a developmental player.
I wonder if he did that,
On purpose.
but also they knew that there were teams that were interested in him, and he's a guy that somebody would snatch if we put him on. And,
Maybe.
you know?
I mean, when you hear the word developmental player, that's
And he was a
practice squad
special-
written right
special
over.
I know, but
teamer
maybe
in
Bill
college.
said that for a reason.
Yeah.
Because
throw-
he was going to keep him,
To throw people off the
Chestnut
scent.
checkers.
Yeah.
but he kept him.
That's what I. Well, okay.
That's the opposite.
But I'm like Booty.
You say that if you're
No,
going
I-
to cut him,
no, but
and then
I-
you want to
But
squeeze
maybe
through
he
waivers.
thought he
like-
might cut him.
But like Booty,
He
like
probably did.
I mean,
he probably
was,
thought that.
he was glowing about Booty, and Booty makes the team. Like they
As he
didn't want to
should've.
risk it with
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
You know?
Now
As he should've.
those two, I think we all kind of said similar things after the draft. If one of these 6-round guys can make the team and actually shows, and they have both of them, so I think that's a good takeaway from this.
I don't
Now-
have. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
I was gonna say if Isaiah Bolden didn't get injured,
He'd
I'd-
probably be.
Yeah,
yeah, I
he'd
think
be
it would have been
Speed.
him
Yeah.
over Speed.
Yeah, I agree.
I like they IR'd him, which it makes sense. I think it's good. He'll get a year on IR and hopefully he'll develop and come back. But I liked what I saw of Bolden this year. I mean, maybe it's just the traits, but he looks like a player.
That's a good point. I mean, if Bolden was healthy,
No, that was the swap. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people. I had Bolden on my last. I don't know
Me
if
too.
Evan. Yeah, I mean, I had Bolden instead
Until he
of
got
Speed.
hurt, yeah.
But that's the same thing. Like if you asked me the day of, I would have flip flopped them.
Yeah.
But
It's interesting, like guys like Sean Wade, Sam Roberts, they had good preseasons, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be enough for them to make the roster, but those are the types of guys that did every little thing that they possibly could have to make the team. And I talked to Sean Wade in the locker room the other day about moving back to nickel and safety and not playing as much on the outside, and he was like, that kind of changed everything for me. Like I feel much more comfortable playing inside and in the middle of the field, and that's where I had, he even referenced his big year in college that we always talk about with him, and he brought it up that's valid, and that's really where he feels at home. So I think that Wade's an interesting player to me because he brings some size to the slot role, and other guys are 5'8", 5'9", and if they go up against some of these bigger slot receivers, then maybe he's somebody that can cover them.
Option.
Yeah.
and that's funny to me because I think the reason for me to want to keep Wade was his size to potentially help on the outside. But
right?
he hasn't really played as much out there. I think a lot of people thought, Carl Davis could go.
Interesting. Did you
think
see?
that
Did
was-
you hear anything about his post on?
I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Interesting.
refreshing.
Yeah. Just like I didn't bring it.
Yeah.
I didn't play hard enough.
I didn't play as well as I could have. I didn't give it all, and
Yeah.
that's what happens.
Here I am. I do think that's a little bit of an interesting cut. I know we talked about, you guys both said, I forget who you said you'd rather have than him. Maybe Carl Davis. Or sorry, you'd rather have Sam Roberts than him. I think we talked about that on the show.
I actually thought both of them were going to get cut.
Yeah.
to be honest.
I didn't think Carl Davis was anything special, but I just, when you go goal line, run heavy, those kind of, like he gives you something in the bank as far as size, something unique. And I don't think, unless you're expecting a lot out of Godchaw, you just don't have that extra kind of guy in the
And
rotation.
Keep in mind that's a spot that I think they're continuing to look at. Like what's the guy?
Marquand McCall.
Thank
Yeah.
you. That didn't
Same
pass
thing.
the physical.
Big,
That's a
big nose tackle type. Yeah.
320 plus pound guy.
And I
they're
acknowledge
looking for that.
Not
so
hard, not impossible to find because it's a unique kind of player specific
It's
to
not
them.
impossible to find, but also, and don't ever discount this stuff. What's Carl Davis like 8th, 9th year now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam Roberts year 2.
Yeah.
Save a little dough. Developmental guy. I think you would reward Roberts because I think he played really well. I mean, I know people don't put a ton into the preseason games themselves, but he played well in the games.
I like Roberts and I like Keon White, because I think largely this defense is very much the same as it was last year. A lot of the same pieces. You're kind of, and I guess the question I'm asking myself now is, basically I think it's going to come down to guys. Certainly Gonzalez is going to play a big role. I don't know how much of a role. I mean, I expect Keon White to be active and probably rotational guy. I don't know if Sam Roberts is even going to be active, but
No,
are those enough new pieces? Like, is this defense still ascending? You got a lot of guys who are around 30. You got, Judon's up in his early 30s. Like, I don't want to miss the crest of this defense. And that's one thing I'm kind of concerned about is are those rookies, the young pieces that have been mixed in, are they going to get enough to like raise the level of play on the defense and get them playing better against the good teams? You know,
Are they going to actually use Marty Mapu?
Are they going to actually? I haven't even mentioned him. I mean, I don't really have high expectations for him this year as far as what they're going to play him. And that, I mean, I'm disappointed about that. But from what I've seen, it seems like he's the sixth safety on the team right now. You know,
What a waste. Sorry.
No,
just being honest.
No, I mean, I agree. And that's, I mean, you know, people were making fun of me on the draft show for my instant reaction. And I said, if this works out great, I don't know what it is. I still don't. I mean, I stick by what I said after the draft. I love the player.
No one makes fun of you except for me.
Right. Only you're.
I don't remember saying that.
But I think, you know, Evan and I, we both really like the kid, the way he plays, and think that, you know, he brings something different to the party. But when you look at how they've been using him, and granted he was injured for a large part of the summer.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen.
I don't see a role for him right now.
Yeah,
he's not going to bump Mills out or Peppers, or, you know, if he's going to play safety, and then, you know, maybe we talked about Mac Wilson, like maybe all right, sub linebacker, we can get him in there a little bit.
I think whether it's Mapu or other, I think we're going to be surprised once the season starts and how they use a lot of these players.
Yeah.
I hope so, and I'd say the same thing for Keon White. Like,
so
I
what
think,
would be the surprise?
Well, I think maybe,
plays.
for example, Mapu might be used as, you know, we talk. Why not use him as a linebacker? I think they might.
Yeah, I think they might too.
I think they might, but
Third
we
and
didn't see
long.
a lot of that in preseason.
Yeah, we did, but we did the one game that he played. He did do that.
Yeah.
So that's why I think
he's
that's
seen
in
time
play.
there.
Mike and I talked about that on Tuesday.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I think I'll be disappointed. Like, if Mac Wilson is third and long and Mac Wilson's out there over Mapu, we're all going to look at each other and be like, ugh. You know,
that's when
that's a spot.
you killed my buzz on Tuesday, because that's exactly my feeling. I would go, ugh.
Yeah.
So maybe an athletic guy might a half a step faster than the other guys that have been doing it might help you against Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
I'm not asking
Just
him to go out and
spitballing.
shut down Jalen Hurts. I'm not. That's stupid. But maybe a little bit more speed and athleticism.
I would just say I don't want to get to the end of this year and feel like, well, aside from Gonzalez, they look really old and slow. They're starting to get old and slow. You know, it doesn't look like that's what I don't want.
Very negative.
I'm saying my concerns.
Even I'm not negative on the defense.
I still am concerned about free safety. I have no idea how they're going to handle that and what it's going to look like without Devin, in terms of just the communication, all that stuff. I think they'll figure it out. Like, talking is talking, but who's going to play the deep middle on third down?
Talk about a little bit. I don't want to ruin your article.
Yeah, don't ruin it.
But I thought, you know, he talked to Devin about it a little bit, and I mean, I'll let you say it, but I think it's interesting. And the gotta have it moments. You're not going to just be spinning the dial. You're going to have to settle into, all right, this is what we are. When it's a gotta have it moment, yeah, we're predictable, but this is where these guys are the best. And I mean, Evan can expand
so
upon
he,
it.
Hopefully, he could be out on Monday, I think we're thinking. But I talked to him the other day, and he just mentioned that he really put himself with Chung and Deron Harmon. Like, those were kind of his guys that he really, I guess, related to or whatever. And he said that in gotta-have-it situations, you know, third down, 2-minute, whatever, they knew Harmon was going to be in the deep middle. He was going to be playing, you know, kind of a rover role, and Chung was going to be in the box somewhere. And they kind of all had complementary skill sets and were able to go to their strength, is what he said, when the money was on the line. And with this secondary group and with these safeties, they all are kind of similar. So how someone's going to have to play something that they're not usually playing. Like, someone's not going to be able to go to their strength of their skill set. And who is that player going to be? And that player is not only going to have to be selfless and saying, this might not be where I'm going to make the most plays or be the most effective, but this is what the team needs me to do. And is it going to be effective just in general, if that's where they put him? But with Mapu, I mean, he made that tackle against Tajay Spears in the Tennessee game from the deep middle. Nobody else on this team can make that tackle. Like, when Next Gen clocked him at 19.5 miles an hour running across the field to tackle Spears after Spears stiff-armed Jack Jones.
That's what you need.
They don't have anybody else that can make that tackle.
I like the speed, and just I want to be in full disclosure, because when you are before you returned from practice, we talked a little bit about that play, and I didn't, you know, it was the first time he's really been in a game, so I'm not losing any, you know, sleep over it. I didn't like his angle. I thought he had the angle, and almost got dusted because I don't think he pursued properly.
Yeah, so
got rather fortunate with a shoestring tackle.
I
know exactly the play you're talking about.
I talked to him a little bit in the locker room, but with rookies, they cut you off pretty quickly, so I didn't get a chance to get to that part. But when I watched it, I thought he thought that Jack Jones was going to slow him down. So he was
makes sense.
So he was taking the angle to
Makes
Jack
me feel
Jones,
better.
and then as soon as he saw Jack Jones got stiffed arm, he had to then adjust last minute to going in a straight line towards the sideline.
And Tajay Spears, I know probably a lot of the listeners don't know a lot
Really
about
good
him.
player.
He's a really electric player in the open field. He had an incredible year last year for a very good Tulane team.
Green Wave.
The 12-win Tulane Green Wave.
And in the Senior Bowl, too, right? That's where I saw him, and he just, he made a cut in the backfield that was just like a 90-degree
Nobody
angle.
knows Louisiana sports like Paul.
No. Well,
They're really good,
This
Tulane.
is
Is
that
really,
where
this
Tulane
is
is?
really weird. There was a day last
knew
year.
that.
It was like a Saturday afternoon, and TJ was with his boys downstairs, and whatever the game that was on ESPN at the time, it was just on, and it was Tulane.
Interesting.
And they're watching the game, and TJ fell in love with Tajay Spears. And he was like, "This guy's really good." Blah, blah, blah. And so we, after that, every time there's 17 games on every Saturday. You click, oh, Tulane's on, your guy, and we'd watch him, and I was like, "This guy's really good." It's like Darren Sproles.
He looked really good again,
Wow.
man. He looks good in the pros, too.
Okay, so one last surprise. I was a little surprised about Nick Folk. I was, especially for a team that has struggled in the red zone. They rely on the pick three. I'm going to use Hardy's term, but I was shocked because it's like you're going into this year like you have a lot of inconsistency on your offensive line. You might need those field goals. I don't know.
Just gotta rip
I
the
was
Band-Aid
shocked
off.
there.
He's not coming back.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No,
I traded him.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they got out probably at the right time. It's like it just seems like the clock is ticking on him, and they really get a 7th rounder. I mean, not worth
Can't
much.
trade
but-
up in the 4th round for a kicker and then not take the kicker.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
the only way that Ryland doesn't win that job is if he's a disaster.
If it's Rohrwasser.
Right.
Right.
Which-
And that was
Kicking
the worst.
knuckleballs.
And that was the single worst professional kicking performance I've ever watched. And I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
Like Vanderjack at least was a good kicker who then once kicked one into the side. Almost kicked it into the sideline bleachers.
Yeah.
Like
that was
a
a
kicker.
That was a one kick choke.
Oh.
Like Rohrwasser did that every
Just
single
never
day.
looked right.
Oh my
Never
God.
It
looked
was
right.
pretty interesting though, just watching like how many people needed a kicker. Like
there was a
once-
kicker market.
Yeah.
Literally.
I mean, I know Folk only went
Surprised they
for a
couldn't get a
7th,
6.
but I
a bunch of people need a kicker right now.
what I'm surprised about, and I think maybe when it comes to, I'm not surprised that Ryland won the job by any means, but I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't consider maybe trying to see if Folk would stick around on the practice squad as like insurance to Ryland. Like, was the 2025 7th round pick really worth it? That now if Ryland stinks, then you're screwed.
Yeah, but
So-
we're going to turn that into a
I just don't think it
2029
makes much sense to do that.
6th round pick.
Like if you're going to
So-
turn it over to a rookie, you don't want him looking over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Like I just don't think it made any
So
sense.
That's a fair
Teresa
point.
from the Associated Press tweeted today. They were in the locker room with Nick Folk, and he says that Belichick told him that Pats were going to release him and they were letting him go. But then the Titans were interested in him. And then Folk talked to Tennessee coach Mike Vrabel, and then that's when the trade ended up happening. But they did let him know that they were going to cut him.
Yeah, I just don't think there was any other way to do it. You're not. I mean, certainly they cut all their quarterbacks and running backs because they didn't have roster spots. They certainly weren't going to keep 2 kickers. No. And I think even the idea of bringing him back in the practice squad, like I said, doesn't send a good message to Ryland.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way about Behringer with Waitman on the?
No, because that wasn't close.
Which one? I don't know what we're talking
Behringer,
about.
I think Behringer
punters.
was significantly better than Waitman.
I think his best is significantly better. I think he's very inconsistent, Behringer. But I don't really be respectful.
He doesn't like punters. He doesn't like backup quarterbacks. He doesn't like kickers.
No, backup quarterbacks is that's not true. That's you just put words in my mouth. The situation with the roster like there was a kicker market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you can always get a kicker. Like that to me is like, yeah, okay, all right. Well, we have this Jag in who's the same as all the other Jags, but he's been inconsistent this summer. Hey, Nick Folk's been pretty good the last few years. Well, we'll just go and get Nick Folk. Yeah, I mean, like I
think the Rams don't have a kicker right now.
there's like 3 teams that have like, it's like Daniel Carlson and, Evan McPherson, obviously Justin Tucker. And everybody else has a guy who makes about 89% of his field goals, and they go from there.
With Folk, and I'm not trying to like kick him on the way out.
I
because
love Folk.
He's super consistent for the Patriots for the last couple of years, but last year, like 45 plus was
it's like
dicey.
get there.
Yeah,
I mean, even this summer, some of his longer kicks, it just hangs there.
Right, and so maybe he was a little bit more consistent than Ryland within like 40 to 45 yards, but at least with Ryland, you're going to have some range. Where
totally
like,
agree.
If you have to make a 53-yarder at the end of the game to send it to overtime, like
right,
you
don't
might
have
actually
to go
have a
for
chance.
it.
I'll give you your chest checkers already right now.
Okay.
Nick Folk will not make 90% of his kicks for Tennessee this year. Because he was Evan's right. Like you could see it. Like the leg strength was going. Even some of the makes were like
chest checkers.
Yeah.
Chest checkers.
Yeah.
He pulled the plug at the right time.
Yep. All right, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Let's go to John in Louisiana. What's up, John?
Johnny.
Tulane? Is that what it's
Hey.
Hey, so I got a question, 2 questions actually. But the first question is about week 1. Defensively, how do y'all think we're going to approach this? Belichick likes to take away your first and second option, but the first option is a run game. You got to take the box.
I'm having trouble hearing. He's like in an escape room or something.
Do you know what
I got him.
The question is? What's the question?
Yeah, just what are you gonna try to
Thanks,
take
John.
away against the Eagles? He said, Belichick's thing is I'm gonna try to take something away. What would you try to take away from the Eagles? We kind of talked about this on the Puat yesterday. We had a little bit. We dabbled.
It's a good question.
Escape lanes.
I would say A.J. Brown. But
Keep Hurts in the pocket.
Well, I mean, and Evan, you can talk about your film review of the Eagles
so
too.
I it's nice to get the little head start on the Eagles and don't have as much writing to do next week, hopefully. And but with the Eagles, to me, the biggest thing is that their early down run game RPO sequencing is just off the charts good. And if you don't get them out of that series of run, RPO, run, Hurts, run, this, that, they'd never get into third down. They'll go right down the field on first and second down. And third and short, we've seen like the rugby thing that they do on the sneaks. And they were the second best team in the league on third and short, 3rd and 5 or less. If you get them into third and long, they're middle of the pack. They go down all the way down to 15th. So really, for me, I think it's first and second down. They are going to option you to death. It's going to be Hurts in the gun, read option, RPO, and they can run it right down your throats. And if you let them do that, then they will break your will. And that's exactly what happened to the Giants in that playoff game specifically. It's 38-7 was the final score. Is 28-0 at halftime, and you just could see in the second quarter the Giants were defeated. Like they couldn't stop the run, and it just that. I think that Hurts.
So what's the defense that you would call?
So the tricky thing is, and I give Sirianni and that staff credit, they're really, really good at anticipating some of the different things that you do to combat read option, and they have answers to all of it. And they have a really good, diverse read option package. So it's difficult to stop. Like I think at the end of the day, it's being the more aggressive team and being the better tackling team. Like, I don't think that there's like a real X's and O's, like, oh, well, if you use this scheme or that sort of thing, that it's going to work, because they have answers to all those types of things.
So it's just beating your man and getting to the ball.
Yeah.
But just in speaking in generalist terms, would you go generally heavy or generally lighter? Would you try to kind of stack the box and really, try to say, all right, we're going to tempt you to throw downfield? Or, do you say, we're going to try to at least maybe get some speed on the field and try to deal with some of the different options you have?
I just think Hurts he's really good. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not trying to say that he's just a running quarterback or anything like that. He's still really good when he doesn't have the bells and whistles, right? Like no play action, no option, no motion like that. It's just kind of play, but he's human. Like he's more human in that phase of the game. So if you can get him to have to actually go through a full field progression and find a completion on 3rd and 9, then you can get them off the field. But if you're stuck in 3rd and 3 the entire game against them, they have so many different options. He can run it. Like there's just so many different things that they can do to beat you. And I think in terms of like personnel, I think you have to kind of go with a little bit of both. Like I think the first level, the defense should be your heavy guys because you got to be able to take on the blocks on the offensive line. But the second level has got to be able to go sideline to sideline because that's what they're going to do to you. So
Marty Mapu.
yeah, whether it's the safeties down there, whether it's a guy like Mapu down there, I wouldn't put Mac Wilson on the field. So one of those options I think is probably your best bet.
But the stuff that Evan's talking about is why I worry. Like, I think they're going to run the ball. I think that's what the Eagles do. And I think to expect to shut them down is asking too much. I worry about what Evan's talking about. It's not even getting them into third down situations. And now they can, because they're ahead of the sticks all the time, they're taking shots to Smith and Brown. And Brown in particular worries me because of his physicality. Now, I think Devontae Smith is one of the more underrated guys. Like, I think he is really dynamic with his route running and all that stuff.
Smith.
I do too. But the physicality that Brown provides against the smaller cornerbacks, except for Gonzalez, he's the only one with any size. And now you're asking him in his first ever game. I worry about some big plays. I do.
Yeah. Well, you got to get them off.
Challenge.
You got to get them off schedule. They're an on-schedule offense. If they're on schedule and they're ahead of the chains, you're toast. You're going to be the Giants. It'll be roadkill.
Donnie's in Pittsburgh. What's up, Donnie? Donnie.
Hey guys, thanks for taking the call.
Yeah. Hey.
Donnie.
Oh boy.
I just wanted to comment on the conversation earlier
Attention,
regarding
please.
the
Signal
top of
tone
the
you
week
have
the
just
roster
heard
test.
indicated a report of an emergency in this
I think I
building.
agree with basically all the points you guys made on the Patriots side of that, and I think the flip side of that coin was just what's going on around the league. Like what Evan said with the market with kickers, you could get something there because there was a market. The market with quarterbacks, I think the team looked at that and said there is risk there, but it's just a lot less, and we're comfortable making that move. You had multiple teams releasing, their third string or even just declaring who their starter and backup were throughout the week before cutdown day, and a lot of teams who just weren't looking for a backup or a practice squad quarterback, coupled with the ability of Zappe to turn down those offers he got, it ends up looking like a pretty safe risk in retrospect, and they end up with what they want at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a good synopsis of the situation.
I didn't hear the first part because of the fire.
Yeah,
We had an emergency.
Can you sort of give us a synopsis?
Give us the Cliff Notes version.
Fred?
It all worked out.
He just said it was a good risk to take
Okay.
because of the backup market for quarterback.
Yeah, and I think more importantly, they didn't really mind if they lost them.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's a good risk.
Yeah.
Like I'm believing the reports that they're looking for a backup quarterback.
Oh,
I'm believing that
right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think,
I
Donnie?
agree. I think that's a good risk to take. I agree with Donnie.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Donnie. Let's go to Dominique in New York. What's up, Dominique?
Said how's Maria?
Hey, y'all. How you doing?
All right.
Hey.
Hey. Quick question, and I'm curious about the wide receiver group. So there's been a lot of speculation about Juju Smith-Schuster's knee. He says he's fine. Others say, he's not showing that explosion. Folks across, y'all team have said he hasn't really popped during, training camp and in the preseason as well. So I'm curious, do you think maybe it's a little bit midway through the season, but do you see guys like Kendrick Bourne or even DeMario Douglas taking less snaps away from him, especially with Bill O'Brien, who loves to use like those two tight end sets? Do you think that he might not even be as much of a factor, in the offense, compared to those guys? And do you think those snap shares might go down a little bit as the season wears on if he still doesn't pop like,
It's possible.
It's a good question. I think Bourne had a really good camp. I think he's looked some of the best I've seen him look since he got here. I'd probably classify Juju as one of my disappointments of the summer. I just never really saw much out of him. He didn't do a lot. There weren't a lot of like notable moments. At least with Parker, you got some notable moments. With Bourne, you certainly had some notable moments. And the tight ends, just Juju with this didn't really move the needle at all for me this summer.
Well,
so I really don't know what to expect.
I think Bourne's going to play a lot of snaps.
I mean, up until last week, up until the final, we saw all the practices.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what they saw in practice.
Yep.
I don't see how what we saw you could say, oh, this guy's going to do this when it comes to the receivers. Like, I have no idea, and I don't think they
agree
do
with you, Fred.
right now.
I mean, it does seem like Parker and Juju are the top two. You know, when there's two receivers on the field, at least in camp, it seemed like those are probably, at least to begin with, the top two guys out there.
But
now,
do
can
you
Bourne
guys
surpass
feel
them?
that there'll be more 3 receivers than 2 tight ends?
That's a good question, Paul.
Yes.
I wrote that
I do.
today. I wrote that today, thinking about
Well,
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of hard to gauge because we were missing Gesicki for so much time.
What is Gesicki?
No,
So-
I count him as a tight end.
So I think they do too, but I would say at the same time, like, they might be in 12 technically, but Gesicki might be playing out of the slot, and they might view that as kind of a mix between 12 and 11 because like he's not going to put his hand in the dirt and block people. So.
I could see that, but my point is I don't like Gesicki is a good option as a tight end in the slot.
Yes,
He's not a good option as a slot receiver, in my opinion.
So, but if he's, I don't
if he's treated
I
as,
hear what you're saying.
I guess it depends on how the defense treats him.
Right.
You might get a matchup edge there, depending
So
on how he's viewed.
they're going to want the tight ends to run the seam. We know that, and he's a good seam runner. Like, he's still good at that. So I just wonder if, if it's him in one seam and Gesicki and Henry in the other seam, like, how are they going to view that though? Like, I mean, not that they really care. I don't think if it's 12-11, like, what difference does it make? So I don't know how many like true 3 receiver sets we're going to see. Like more, like have that be way more than 12. But Gesicki's kind of his own.
I think
his own thing.
Like, that's a good point.
The question might just be who's going to play more, Gesicki or Bourne. That's probably where the difference is.
I agree with Dominique. I think you're going to see Bourne
Me too.
as much as any of the receivers.
I think Bourne has a real chance to lead this team in targets this year.
I do too.
Yeah. Thank you. And last point, you mentioned it greatly. Devontae, Juju, they're sort of like the same receiver. A lot of folks are, sort of the same type of receiver. So speed kills. I'd rather get the fastest guys out there. Get open as quick as you can. Give Mac a chance, especially if the offensive line isn't, holding up. So
unfortunately,
Douglas.
the fastest guy is hurt.
I mean, speed-wise, I get the point, but I don't really see them as the same receivers, and I
They're
think
not
they
the
play
same.
really different roles.
Thanks, Dominic.
I agree with you. Parker is a contested catch outside the numbers.
Slants,
with
Juju's
some
a slot
occasional slants.
receiver, break
Juju's
tackles,
inside.
run. I guess that's what he is. That's what I've been told he is. I haven't really seen that.
Right. Wow.
Very nice. Whoa.
Well, I'm just being honest. Like, that's
I
what
don't
everybody
even-
said when we got here.
I don't even know what I like.
So what is he? Like, how would you
know
describe him from what you saw from him this summer? I don't know what the words are.
The one thing that
personally
we're
injured. I would describe him as he's dealing with something because he's not running well.
my fear with him, and it takes me not to compare Juju to N'Keal Harry, like in terms of.
Oh, wow.
But remember when they used to
man.
use N'Keal Harry on like jet sweeps?
Yeah, and
it
you're
would
like,
just
here he
be like,
comes.
Stop.
Chugga 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 chugga
Fred.
chugga chugga.
Oh my god.
What have you done to my staff?
Okay.
But so my only point with that is that. Like, can we just have the faster people
Right.
run the jet sweeps? Like,
That's
you got
Kendrick Bourne
you
on the
got
jet
Kendrick,
sweep.
you
Kendrick
got
Bourne can run those.
you
love
got
him
Pop
on that.
Douglas. Like, you got guys that have burst and have speed. Like, I think Juju is going to be good for them because he's going to do the dirty work. He blocks. He goes over the middle. He makes tough catches in traffic. He's got good hands. He's heady. Like, he knows where to go in between zones and things like that. But if you're asking him to like take the ball and run away from people, like, I don't think that's really his game anymore.
And I should say, like, it might all work out. Like, he might be pretty good. Like, I just haven't seen it yet. Like, and he seems like the kind of player, especially where physicality is an element of his game, that we're going to get into games and I'll be like, okay, I get it. He's a vet. He's going to turn it on now and he's going to be productive. But just based on what we've seen, it was like, just kind of left underwhelmed.
How much of the success of the offense do you think is going to be up to Mac seeing things
A
at the
lot.
line of scrimmage?
I think Evan
all of
ran
it.
through all that.
75% of it.
Yeah.
That's
I think so.
If he doesn't see it, he's gonna end up like Zappe in
Yeah.
the last preseason game,
Yeah.
where we're just like,
They want.
What are you doing?
He's
they're
got to
gonna
call
have
his
to win.
guys
Yeah.
open. He's got to do
Oh yeah,
that.
they're gonna win by. They're gonna try to win at least by being a step ahead. Like, okay, you're
Right.
gonna show us this look. We're gonna have 2 plays called in the huddle. If it's this look, we're gonna go with a run. If it's that look, we're gonna go with the pass, or it might be pass, run. Like, and they're just gonna. They're going to put it all on Mac to go up there and make the plays.
I think the thing, though, just last point, we Evan and I kind of talked about is, like, the problem is with your offensive line is it's probably tempting to teams, especially like the Eagles, to be like, we're just going to rush 3. because we think we can probably get there with 3.
Yeah.
And good luck figuring it out.
I've heard a lot of like, can you
deciphering
imagine the
coverage.
blitzing the Eagles going to do?
Blitz? No blitz.
If I was the blitz,
No,
the Eagles, I would.
so the Eagles don't blitz. So that's
but
in itself.
especially in
But-
this matchup
I'm like,
with your defensive
dropping
line.
7 every time, and like, all right, then maybe Ramondre gets loose or Elliott gets going, and then it's a problem. But until they prove they can block multiple, I wouldn't send blitzing at all.
All right, Paul's Food's here, so we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
All right, we are back to the show within a show. We're gonna run
Inception.
Exactly. We're gonna run with that title for a little. We're still open to some names. So
What are the Russian stacking dolls, nesting dolls?
yeah, something like
It's
that.
like what we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrifying.
Yeah, they are creepy.
So it's Matisse Bauman. I'm joined by Alex Francisco and Evan Lazar.
Evan's
Hello.
working his way into every show.
Working his
on
way
our
into every
network.
show, and it's
Weaseling
funny.
in.
It's funny because you'll hear him live after the show within a show.
And before the show, within the show.
There you go. All right. So once again, we're going to start with some trivia. 3 questions. Get them correctly, and you email the answer to webradio@patriots.com. Before the end of the show within a show, you win a Patriots Unfiltered T-shirt, an
And
official
a real
one,
one,
a
not
real
a
one.
knockoff.
We
No
got
dupes.
some.
Are there dupes?
Yes,
There
there
are
are.
dupes.
There are dupes. All right, so let's get into it. I got some good ones today, guys.
Okay.
All right. Question 1. What New England Patriot earned Offensive Rookie of the Year honors in 1995? Don't answer it, Evan.
I was
know
a
you think
toddler, so.
That's question 1. Question 2. In the 2008 opener, after Tom Brady got hurt, who did Matt Castle throw his only touchdown in the game to for that game? Who caught the only Matt Castle touchdown that game?
That's a good one.
Yeah. And here's the fun one. This one could raise some controversy. When was the first time Tom Brady stopped wearing the traditional Rydell helmet and first wore a Rydell speed helmet in an NFL game? Okay.
Those are good.
That one's in
Evan,
the
do you know that
weeds.
one?
I have a guess.
Okay. Well, don't answer it. You know what? You can discuss it when the show goes back live after the show within the show.
Only the chronically online fans will know that one.
Exactly. So yes, send the answers to webradio@patriots.com before the end of this segment, and Fred will read your answers live on Unfiltered, and the winners will get a T-shirt. But let's get to what we're here for. Alex, last week we talked about NFL expansion teams moves that we'd like to see in the coming years, and we did domestic, and I think the big talk was Salt Lake City and San Diego. But now we're talking international. So, Evan, welcome to the table. We'll start with you.
Wow.
Yeah, we're getting into this. What are some NFL expansions teams you would like to see that are international?
So I feel like this is supposed to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and I'm going to come at it with, like, real possibilities.
Yeah,
so I don't know which one we're supposed to go with
It's an
here.
open discussion.
But
Both.
I think the 2 prime candidates are obviously, 1, London, which that seems like that's going to happen within at least our lifetimes, if not much sooner than that. And I got to give a shout out to our friends in Frankfurt, Germany, right? I mean, like, that has to be an option too. And we would love to see that. We're ready to go. So let's just make it a regular thing.
I think it'd be awesome. I also have London on my list. So, Alex, I'll let you go next.
I didn't have London.
Really?
I had 2 others, Germany included. Germany just seems like the most no-brainer to me. I know we've been in London a long time, but back when NFL Europe was the thing, when it was all said and done, 5 of the 6 teams were all in Germany.
Yep.
I've seen the social media numbers. I've seen the marketing that we do there. It's clearly a proven market already. We haven't even played a game there. And, I mean, those people love football.
Yep.
Very clear. Germany seems like a no-brainer. Europe's right there.
Yep. All right.
Rip it.
Let's do it. Mine, right, for this? I have London. I think Toronto needs a team.
Oh, that is a good one.
I personally think this might
Canada's represented in every other major
well,
sports
so
league
you
other than
say
other than the
domestic
NFL.
versus like you don't even really think of Canada.
No,
That's a good poll.
Listen, the Bills used to play some games there, I think if the Bills didn't have Josh Allen in the past couple of years,
They would
already be there. There's no way they're building that new stadium in Buffalo, like, unless the team was winning. I think Josh Allen saved them a move.
To the other side of
I
Niagara
think
Falls.
we were talking about before we started recording, you automatically got Drake there. That's going to be a crazy backup. Like, I just think it'd be unreal.
Views from the 6.
Yeah, I think
the Toronto OVO Owls.
the Toronto Owls. There you go. So those
That's
are
good.
That's my go-to city. But here's a better question. Logistically, how would this work? All right, like, I read an article today that said, do you just make a whole new division in Europe and just make 4 teams and just go, and then you got 4 teams already in Europe and you, like, can work the schedule easy? I just don't see how you could have, like, 1 team in London and then, like, how would it work with schedules and stuff like that? It just seems kind of difficult.
And,
to
like,
make
how
it
are
work.
you choose, like, then you're forced to do really probably all European teams. I
Yep.
don't know. I think leaving out Brazil's my second.
Yep.
That's another huge football market.
Yeah.
They
and
love football.
We have shout out to Patriots Brazil. Check them out. We got a lot of
tweeted
Brazilian fans.
when Pele passed away. We tweeted something about Pele in Portuguese. I can't believe the numbers that social media posted, and it's just like
So
they're
she's got
so
the data.
passionate
We
down
don't.
there.
We didn't have any data.
Yeah.
This is
I
just,
come correct, boys. I come
but
correct.
like we also have to give Mexico City a shout out,
Oh,
right?
100%.
I
For
mean,
sure.
and Martin and Patriots Espanol, right? So that's another option. But in terms of the logistics, Canada's obviously the easy one. That's in every sport league other than the NFL. So that's easy. London nowadays, I mean, what's that, like a 6-hour flight?
6-hour
It's
flight.
not terrible. It's basically
Only
the same
from the
as
East
going
Coast,
to California.
Though. A California
Right.
team is
12.
traveling a little
10,
longer.
10
yeah.
12. So I think that would be, you would have to, if you added that team, then clearly they would have to be in either the AFC or NFC East.
Yep.
And then you would have to somehow make their schedule just to the East Coast. And maybe it's a bye week for if you're a West Coast team that has to go out there, you get the bye week right after. Maybe that.
It's just like, it's so crazy to think
Thursday
about.
night football game, you're going to London to play. That's
exactly.
Just,
And then you got to think about the players too. Like, if you could stagger it and be like, all right, you're getting 6 away games in a row. Well, that's not fair. Like, you can't have a 6-game homestand. So it's just, there's got to be a way to do it, and I'm not sure what it is yet. But as Evan said, I wouldn't be surprised if in 10 years there's a team.
From
in
a
London
labor perspective, how do you even organize? I don't know if this is even a CBA thing, but just like giving these guys like insurance to like if you're in another country where laws are completely different than here, health insurance, like there's so many random factors being taxed. Like, how are you taxed?
Yeah, and then you got you're getting paid in pounds.
That too. But if you play a game, if you play for NFL London, but you play a game in the U.S., is your game check taxed in the U.S.? I think that's how it would work, because that's how it works. Your game check is taxed in the state that you played the game in.
Yeah.
Here, anyways. So I would think that would be how it works.
As I said, there's got to be a way to do it, and that is for people that make way more money than me to
But
figure
do you
out.
think it would have been done already if there was if there was a viable way to this?
I mean, well, if you like watch the Pat McAfee show or any other podcast with players who have done the game, like, they kind of hate it. It sucks. It's just a lot of traveling.
Yeah, well, I just think that it's more and more realistic to do it now because of how nice the team charters are.
Yep.
And how just well taken care of teams are on the road. I feel like, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and it might have been pretty significant, but now I feel like maybe they have the planes and the travel times are getting a little less and less all the time with the new technology. Maybe it's easier now. I don't know.
Who knows? I think, once again, Canada would probably be the easiest.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
that could just be a team.
You can just pop them into the AFC.
Yeah, that you could make that work. But it just seems like Europe was where like the next big thing's gonna happen. We got the Germany games.
That's where the money is.
The money's there. London's been a knockout every single time. So I don't know. But Brazil be interesting. I think it's there.
People are passionate down there.
I mean, could you imagine?
Imagine the party. Like, it would be.
The tailgates.
Imagine Carnival and the biggest
and the Super Bowl.
Like the
I don't
Super
know if
Bowl
that's
together.
even the right time of year,
The
but
Super Bowl in Rio.
Well, for them, it kind of. If we ever played a game in Brazil, that's what it would be.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Electric.
I could see a game in Brazil soon. I think don't the Dolphins have them as a home market?
I think you're right.
Like that.
That would make sense.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
So, here's a better question. What do you think?
Bonito.
What do you,
The
what do you-
other Jogo.
What do you think would happen first? A U.S. team or an international team? Let's go back to last week. Like, do you
In
think,
terms of expansion?
Yeah, expansion.
I would say U.S. or Canada.
Yeah. Evan?
Yeah, I'd say U.S. or Canada.
Just 'cause of
also.
logistics,
I think
right?
that. So you mentioned San Diego, Salt Lake City's a good one. Didn't think of that.
That'd be awesome.
I was just going last week for places I selfishly want to visit.
She said,
with,
Montana.
Jackson Hole. That was an outlandish
But
one. Salt Lake City was more.
What are the chances that
reeled
that they
in.
put a team back in St. Louis?
I mean, they're
So that's what we talked about. St. Louis and San Diego, just give them teams back.
Right. I think
give them back
it's
their
possible.
teams.
St. Louis, XFL, they've been crushing it. They've had like sold out games for St. Louis. So
One of my good friends was born in St. Louis. He was a diehard Rams fan. He's like a poor lost soul now.
All right, guys. That brings an end to the show within a show. So I hope you liked the discussion. Once again, hopefully you guys answered some of the trivia questions. Fred will read those out loud. Or, maybe Evan will, since, current Evan will be back on air. Once again, we hope you liked it. Getting back to Patriots Unfiltered. Also, if you have any ideas or topics you want us to discuss, feel free to email those into the web box as well. But let's get back to Unfiltered.
Get in on the action with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the New England Patriots. New customers can download the DraftKings app now and play free for millions in prizes using code PATS. That's code PATS, only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
And now, great moments in history.
There will not be vicious attacks on Bill O'Brien dropping the ball.
I disagree.
I think he's under a lot of pressure.
If this offense looks this year the way it did last year, I think people will be here with pitchforks and torches.
For who?
For Bill Belichick, for
Okay.
Bill O'Brien,
Nope.
and for Mac Jones.
We'll see.
We'll
We'll see what they have for we'll see what they have for weapons.
You got to divvy it up. It's tough out.
Teflon Mac. If they have the same cast of characters back on offense, you got to get him Jamar Chase.
He keeps saying Teflon Mac, and I still hear on his shows the people who call in are at least 50-50 on that subject, that Mac's not the guy.
Wait a minute.
I hear that all the
Wait,
time.
are you comparing like the calls?
Yeah, the callers.
Okay.
The fans, the people who spend the money to come to the games.
But that's not a cross section of the people. The people who call those shows are almost entirely negative.
Okay, well,
because
who
if
else
you have,
are you talking to or hearing?
I'm talking about the
have
media.
you have forums in your living room?
The media people.
Hey,
the people who cover the team.
I'm going to have a round table in my living room. You can come. We're going to talk about Matt. Who else are you listening to about this?
I don't.
I forget about the media. I'm not talking about the media.
This is not hard to understand.
I'm not talking about the media.
Like Tom Curran said, you could trade Mac Jones over Robert Kraft's dead body 2 days ago.
Right.
Like, so he's accomplished so much that we can't even broach the topic that if someone came to the Patriots looking to deal for Mac Jones, we can't even listen to that?
Again, I don't care what the media says.
Okay, well, that's the only...
I'm talking about the paying public.
Okay, well, you have no way of knowing what the paying public thinks.
I do when they call in the shows.
That is over-the-top negativity, Fred, on sports radio. Come on.
I'm saying it's 50-50. It's not over the top.
It's over-the-top negativity for the most part.
The hosts are.
About 5 minutes later.
I gotta be honest. I gotta find these Mac superfans. I haven't seen a lot of them. They're not allowed.
Well, he thinks that everybody's a Mac superfan. Teflon Mac, he called him.
Okay, I'm not talking about fans. I don't know why you keep bringing up fans. I'm talking about the people who cover the team.
I know, but who cares?
Can you name me one guy who covers the team that thinks that they should move on from Mac Jones?
I'd have to look. I'd have to look at my notes.
That's another great moment from
All right.
And I found one.
Yeah. Who?
Joe Murray.
Joe Murray?
Joe Murray liked Zappe.
All right, we're back.
There was one.
The show within the show gave away some things. There were trivia questions. People won. George Huffnagel won what New England Patriot earned Offensive Rookie of the Year honors in 1995. The answer was Curtis Martin. George Huffnagel won. What did he win?
Tell him what he's won, Johnny.
You won a brand new Patriots Unfiltered t-shirt.
All right, and then Ben Bradley won a T-shirt in the 2008 opener after Tom Brady got hurt. Who did Matt Castle throw his only touchdown to in that game? And the answer was Randy Moss, and Ben Bradley got that right. The third question, no one has got the right answer to yet.
Correct. There's been answers, but none have
So
been
it's
correct.
still open. We'll take. I guess we'll take.
Is Mike now rethinking his answer?
No. I let me give a slight clue. It was included in the top 12 Brady video that Paul
Okay,
and I
we'll
did.
take answers till the end of the show. Just email in at webradiopitches.com. The question is, when was the first time Tom Brady wore the Rydell speed helmet in an NFL game?
Looked weird. It was
Yeah.
striking. You're like, why? This looks too big on him. What's going on?
Because for years he was one of the last people to change helmets. Remember, he liked his helmet.
This was only a brief little foray into the alternative helmet universe for Tom. I know in 2012 he in like Seattle he wore kind of the more modern one a little bit, the one that he ended up wearing at the end.
Yeah.
But
So anyway, that we'll take those questions. So
no,
congratulations to George Huffnagel and Ben Bradley for winning T-shirts, and that was the show within a show. And now we're back to the show that's out of the show.
the actual show.
The actual show.
The halftime show.
Also, thanks to VIP Strippers for buying lunch
thank
today.
you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
It's good caviar.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Got my handy leftovers for
We had our Cristal. We had our caviar. Bought a table.
Cavassier.
Yeah.
Ladies' man.
But thank you. A lot of emails coming in. A lot of
read
emails.
'em.
But let's take the phone calls. Let's go to Josh in Dallas. He's been holding on. What's up, Josh?
Hey, everyone. Thanks for taking my call. I just had a quick question and then just a little statement for you guys for your picks this year. But my question is, I just want to know if you guys had any maybe potential surprise captains this year with McCourty retiring and that slot being open. I thought maybe an unconventional one could be Zeke just being outspoken, having had some experience with the Cowboys, as well as just a lot of younger offensive players and self-admitted, more quiet, composed guys. And so he could just be a big personality in the locker room in a good way. And then my statement about the picks this year is, I know Freddie's always had the feel for the league, but I think with Paul's win last year, I think he might have earned the right this year to say that he's got the feel for the league. So at least to me, he's Paulie feel for the league for a low.
Oh,
So
wow.
thanks, guys.
You won last year? You sure about that?
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, I've lost my feel.
Dominant.
Yeah, I'm sort of, kind of tied to the Patriots. So if they're not doing well, I'm not doing well.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh. See, that's how I am too. Like, it's just like, I mean, it sounds stupid, but like, having worked here for 4 seasons,
some odd games, and he loses the pick contest because of 17 of them.
Been here 4 years. I think when they win, it's
No,
so
I don't
much
mean
more fun
I don't
here.
mean like how their record is. I mean like overall, like the state of the team is a reflection on me. So
yeah,
we're simpatico.
That's why. Well, you're enjoying then the final phases of now. You're just getting like, you don't know yet. You're kind of in the unknown. You don't know how you're going to be doing in a couple weeks, but hey, let's go. I would just say in response to his captain question, Adrian Phillips seems like kind of the guy breaking down the huddle sometimes before the game. I'd throw Peppers in there too. 2 guys I feel like have been pretty vocal this summer.
There's a surprise.
Speaking of predictions, Tim, our friend from Duncan, if you hear these things in the background, they're
Don't
testing
worry.
the alarm
We're not in
system.
danger.
Yeah, so
just a drill.
Just a drill. I'll plow through that. Tim says, yesterday afternoon, Mike Felger asked Paul, if everything goes well for the Patriots, what is the ceiling on wins? I believe Paul said it was either 6 or 7 wins, and very few are really picking anything higher.
Wrong.
That's
wrong. I didn't say 6 wins. I said 7 or 8.
You said 7 or 8.
There's a huge difference between 6 and 8.
Okay, so if everything goes right, the ceiling is 7 or 8?
Yeah, I think about 8 wins. I could see that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's if everything goes right, it's 10. That's the ceiling.
Okay. So we're 2 off.
And I'm including there, like, there's a slight drop-off for the Bills, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't do well for the
that's
Jets.
everything going right, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I would agree that involves everything going right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And so
I don't kill you for that. I think that's a rational.
You're down on the Patriots.
10 wins is everything going right. I think that's a rational pick.
Yeah.
Sure.
Everyone's glomming onto your 7, Paul. That's the problem. You said the word
I
7.
said 7 or 8
Yeah,
is what I said. I never said 6.
No.
But I do think there's a difference because I think 6 is like bare minimum.
So that's their floor as well?
5 or 6 is the floor. Yeah, like I think you
So
got
if
you have the
things
Colts.
if things don't go right, what's the floor?
5 or 6.
Oh, really? See, I think it's less than that. If things don't go right, it could go whoop.
No, because I think you have the Saints, the Colts, the Commanders, I look at these games as games that you really shouldn't lose.
You mentioned 3.
The Raiders.
Broncos.
I don't put the Broncos in that category, no.
Yeah. I think the floor could be 4.
Okay. Fred's down on the Patriots. See
No.
what I mean? Like, but
that's if things don't go right.
I'm being sarcastic, but like, you sort of look at things and you look at things one way. You have 4 to 10. I have it more like 6 to 8. Like, Mike might have
7
it.
to 9.
Okay,
7 to
7 to 9.
9.
Okay, so like
2-9.
Everybody's kind of in the same ballpark, don't you think?
If things go right?
General.
No, in general.
Oh,
Like
yeah, in general.
The gap.
In general, absolutely.
I haven't heard anybody say more than 10.
We do have a winner, so you can stop sending in emails for the last trivia question. The winner is Kevin in Dublin, Ireland.
I know back in the off season,
Congratulations,
before camp started, before the off season unfolded, there were some people talking about 12, 13 wins. But
Who?
I have not Tom Curran. But I have not heard.
See, he includes the media in these people.
Okay, Fred. All due respect, I really don't care what Joe the Plumber has for a pick.
See, I don't like.
He died.
Like people who watch the league, watch the team, and analyze what they've seen. Like, you can dismiss their opinions too, but their opinions are a little bit more valuable than just some random fan who just wants the team to win. And that's what he's picking.
I look at the zeitgeist.
Or some random.
I want to know what the zeitgeist.
Well, you
is
don't
saying.
know the zeitgeist from listening to 98.5.
You get a cross section, and
You
it's
don't
not
get a
ju-
cross
and it's
section.
not just radio. I look at social media.
Yeah, that's even worse.
Well, I mean, where else are you gonna?
If you're gonna go
where
out
are
of-
these people that are worth listening to? If it's not social media, it's not the radio. I mean, where do you
Media.
go? Where do you?
This
the
is what I'm
media.
talking about. Analysts,
See,
Trusted
people,
analysts.
He's so obsessed with the media. He's
Why
so
am I obsessed with it? I'm talking about having a prediction for a team.
I know, but like you care
That's
so
not an
much about
obsession.
what they say.
I don't care about them.
Oh.
I'm telling you, I care more about someone who's paid to give me an opinion on a sport than I do someone who watches it casually. Like, I'm sorry, I don't really think that's controversial as a take.
Well,
like, I have my neighbor who every day go, oh, so yeah, what do you think this year? Yeah, they got a chance for the Super Bowl. Like, that's what I'm expecting from fans. They watch, they hope. That's, you know how we were talking about, like, when you go into training camp. I'm excited. I have hope. Well, you
know,
should have hope.
These
You're a
betting-
fan.
these
Exactly.
These betting spreads and these over-unders that come out either during the season or before the season, they get set by the betting houses. But then they are what they end up being is dictated by who? The betting public, the fans.
It's not necessarily the case, but we'll continue to
not the
to
media.
go down that.
Not the media.
You'll continue to go down that road. So is Vegas down on the Patriots then?
Yes.
Okay.
Bridgestone.
As long as you're consistent.
Bridgestone is the official tire of the New England Patriots and proud partner with Sullivan Tire, New England's headquarters for quality Bridgestone tires. Visit sullivantire.com to find a location near you.
Zeitgeist.
Got some new rookie numbers, Paul. Do you want to announce them, or should I say?
Yeah, you can go right ahead.
So Gonzalez switched to 6. Behringer switched.
Wait.
6.
6. That's not what I heard
0.
he was going to do.
That's a terrible number.
Not 0.
Yeah.
6.
6 is a terrible
That's
number.
why they traded Nick Folk. They want to get a number for him. Behringer 9 to 17. Ryland 38 to 37, and the big one, City So 61 to 62. Big switch there. You know, can't go 61. Got to go 62.
You know, you can call me a fraud, and you can.
You're a fraud.
Shoot me right between the eyes for even caring, but 6?
6.
That's
6 Super Bowls.
That's a bad number.
Why is it bad?
It's just.
Yeah.
Give me one great player who was number 6.
I don't know.
Okay.
Hopkins? Did Hopkins wear 6?
Hopkins who?
DeAndre Hopkins?
No. 10.
10?
What about in any sport? Any 6s that were good?
Bill Russell.
Oh.
That's a big
That's
6.
a big one. But
Yeah, but that's a different
But not
sport.
commonly a good number.
It's not a good football number.
Yeah.
Not a good anything number. 16, though. That's you put a 1 in front of
16,
it. It's
yeah,
okay.
Joe Montana,
Right?
yeah.
16's good. 6, no.
But I heard,
I
I don't know if I'm giving away any secret, but I heard
already
he
read
wanted
this.
0.
I wonder if they wouldn't let him.
And I wonder if that's not
too
yet been
flashy.
approved by the league.
No,
It has been
Oh, it has been
it
approved.
is.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's just not approved by the
I wonder if it hasn't been
football
approved by William Belichick.
Too much. flashy.
Let's
Top
go to
three number sixes are Bill Russell, Julius Irving, and LeBron James.
Those are three pretty good sixes.
None of which played football, which is the only sport I'm talking about. Yet again, the one that I'm paid to cover, I have an opinion on.
Okay, do top sixes in NFL. Todd's in North Carolina. What's up, Todd?
Nick Folk.
Well, my base for this year is probably 2 wins, because I think if things go sideways, they're going to go sideways pretty hard. But I think that there's a chance at 10 if they really get everything together and they, the offense clicks and everything along those lines.
That's my ceiling.
And the other teams fall apart.
Yeah. Extending from the, well, yeah, exactly, Paul. That's part of everything going right.
Yeah, that's
So
why I agree with Fred.
We need to kind of depend on that. 2 quick questions. How is this offense going to work? Is it going to pass to run or run to pass type thing? That, and then if this offense does go sideways at the end of the year, who's going to be blamed? Is it going to be Mac?
Nope.
Could be Bill O'Brien?
Maybe.
Or is it going to be Bill, the GM/coach?
I think
And
Bill.
That's going to get the
think-
biggest piece of the blame.
Thanks
pie.
for the call. I think Bill will get the biggest slice.
Bill Belichick.
Yes,
I agree.
No doubt.
Then Bill O'Brien, then Mac.
No, then I think Mac. Yeah.
I don't really
I
know
think there's a
about
lot of pressure on Bill O'Brien.
Oh yeah.
I don't really know about the run pass thing. I just wonder what they feel more comfortable with
no idea.
with the offensive line right now. Like, how do they feel about the two separate? Like, how do we feel about our run game? How do we feel about our pass protection?
What do you think the
with
breakdown
these
will
guys?
be, roughly, percentage-wise, run pass?
60-40 pass.
I would say in that neighborhood. I think they're going to be forced to pass.
You think they're going to be closer to 55, 45?
I think probably they'd like it to, but I mean, I think based on how the game's going to
So
go.
But I'm including a lot
does
of
that mean you pass to run or run to pass?
I don't really know what that means.
I don't really know how to answer
Yeah,
that.
like always, they'll have a lot of short, high percentage passes that will substitute for the running game. Yeah. They got to get the ball out quickly, and I sound like a broken record here, but they got to get away from being easy to defend.
I was trying to give you the eyes. I knew that was coming.
And
I had eyeball emojis.
I don't know how they're going to do that unless they stretch that field a little bit.
Yeah.
Because right now, let's just play near the line of scrimmage. Let's crowd that box and.
Well, I mean,
and if they can beat us that way, then they're going to have to prove it.
Yeah, and the other part of that is I feel like, and it's going to be happening a lot, starting a week from Sunday, it's going to be 1st and 10 from about the 13-yard line, and I'm going to look at you guys and go, here comes a fade to Devontae Parker, because that's like their one play that's like
in the red
alert,
zone. Are you
alert.
talking about in the red zone?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, that's like one, like it's like that and like the little checkdowns to Ramondre and the little hitches on the outside. Like those things were such a feature, along with the chuck it up to Devontae and hope he comes down with it. If I was playing NFL defense against the Patriots, that's the alert. Parker, one on the outside. They're going to him up top.
Let's go to Anthony in Seattle. What's up, Anthony?
12-5. We're going to split with the Bills. We're going to sweep the Jets. We're going to shock the world and win the whole thing.
All right.
I haven't wavered. I called it. I'm sticking with it. The only time I put it on pause was when the Jack Jones news came out, because I said, hey, I had a vision. It looks like my vision ain't going to, my defense is going to break down, but it looks like that defense is still fully intact, and I got a vision. And that's what it's going to be.
12-5.
On the same page.
Anthony, if you're right, 12-5, you can buy us lunch. All right.
All right, and listen, I'll take my lumps. If I'm wrong, I'll call in. But the same. But
all right, if you're wrong, you can buy us lunch.
Yeah,
the same thing apply. What I don't want to happen on this show, though, is once this train starts rolling, I don't want to hear anybody saying, "Well, nobody saw this coming."
Okay.
I want to hear nobody except Anthony in Seattle.
You got it.
Anthony
Mark it down.
Yeah,
Mark
there's
it.
There's no need to take your lumps if it doesn't end
Anthony.
up happening. Like I said, that's a good fan. That's what fans are for.
Yeah.
Like that's what fans do. Like if you're a fan and you love the team and you can't go into the season with some optimism, why are you doing it?
To the media,
I mean, Anthony should think that.
Doesn't it kind of frustrate you when you kind of have national guys chime in about things that they know nothing about? Like, national
like
guys.
Demario Douglas is going to be a breakout star.
Yeah. Or
Peter Schrager.
Yeah, well, and Schrager's earlier one he had this summer was Malik Cunningham has been the breakout star. He said Malik Cunningham a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, sometimes he's like they get that, and I think, fans unfortunately get it. I certainly did when I was a fan. You get these little, nuggets and you kind of run with it, and it suddenly becomes, all right, Malik Cunningham had a nice practice too. He's lighting up practice, and it's just I feel like the national people sometimes have so much to keep track of,
and then
they
agree.
weigh in,
right.
and it's like Yeah, but not really, guy. You know,
That's why, if the minutia for the national guys for team to team,
it's hard.
I don't necessarily put as much stock in.
But those ones get
what
attention,
I do.
you know.
But I think that the national guys understand which teams because they talk to people and they know which teams are more talented than others and that kind of thing. Now they might not know exactly why the Patriots are going to be better offensively from a personnel standpoint, but they know that they're going to be better offensively because of what they're hearing and what they're talking about and what they're talking to people about. Now, what that translates to, who knows?
Yeah,
who knows?
How about let's go to Florida. Phillip's in Florida. Phillip, how are you doing? Did you escape the hurricane?
I said that was Phil.
Yeah, I'm doing terrific, and the hurricane was on the other side of the state.
Okay, good.
Well, I want Mr. Perillo to know that I am very enthusiastic, but I'm very enthusiastic about my pick. Do you remember the years when they had Plunkett and no offensive line?
No, that's way before my time.
No, below
Fred,
you remember that.
He does.
Jim Plunkett?
He's playing coy.
When Jim Plunkett was the Patriots quarterback, I was 2. I don't remember
You were
that.
22.
I'm sorry.
Well,
You might have been there,
take-
Fred.
I was.
Go take a look at the film because the poor guy never stood a chance, and I see the exact same thing happening this year. And I think they'll be lucky to win 6 games.
Okay. The only thing, Philip, let me just say one thing. Like on the positive side of that, I agree with you've seen so far. That's what it looks like. I don't think that you need to worry that the offensive line that you've seen so far is going to be what they're going to go to the regular season with. They're going to be Cole Strange, Michael Wenyu at the very minimum. Those two are going to be in that lineup, and you're going to have a different tackle because whether it's Calvin Anderson or one of the new guys, someone else is going to play that you haven't really seen play yet. So I do think there's a chance that it's a lot better in the regular season than it's been in the summer.
Well, I was thinking the same thing, but I thought they got rid of Strange.
No. They didn't get rid of him.
Got rid of Chasen Hines, not Strange.
Oh. Well, that gives me a little more hope.
Yeah, I don't think the offense. I mean, listen, the offensive line is by no means like a sure thing. It's the biggest question mark on offense for sure, but it will be better than what you saw in the summer because the personnel is better and it'll be healthier.
All right.
Certainly no John Hanna or Leon Graves.
No.
Yeah.
Now those guys I did see play.
Thanks for the call. Who did the Patriots get, for draft picks as a result of that trade to the Raiders for Plunkett? Didn't they get Hanna as a result of that?
Oh, no.
Jeez.
No?
Yeah, first of all, they traded Plunkett to San Francisco.
Oh.
I believe it was.
And yet you were 2 years old during this?
No. When Plunkett got traded, now we're talking 76. That's the first year that I can sort of remember watching some games.
Okay.
I was 8, and I went to my first game was a Monday night game that year. But when Plunkett was getting killed by the offensive line, that's even before Fred's time.
Yeah. But when they traded Plunkett, who did the Patriots end up getting in the draft?
I believe it was Mike Haynes.
Right.
If you could throw me a media guide, I'll
Evan's
tell you.
like,
But
what,
I think it was
something happened before 2001.
I want to say Mike Haynes, Tim Fox, and Pete Brock.
Yeah,
But they were
you're
three.
right.
They got 3
You're
first-round picks.
Right, and they were all good players for a long time on the team.
Right, and I think they may have gotten Ike Forte too, who didn't pan out as much.
All right.
I see 2 1976 first-round draft picks, 177 first-round pick,
Ray Claiborne,
second-round pick, and quarterback Tom Owen.
Okay, so do you know who they picked?
No, you're right. It was Fox.
What year was
Brock and Mike Haynes?
I'm looking
right.
What year was this?
76.
They traded
76 and 77 draft.
All right, I got it.
Yeah.
All right, while you're looking that up.
So 2 76 first
right
rounders.
there.
I got it right here. 76 first rounders, 12 and 21. I'll get to who they picked. After drafting future Hall of Fame cornerback Mike Haynes with their own pick, the team selected center Pete Brock and safety Tim Fox with San Francisco.
Okay, so so
Haynes wasn't part of that.
Wasn't part of this. So it was, and then in
the following year, team selected Raymond
Claiborne.
Claiborne with the 49ers first round.
Okay,
pick.
so it was Claiborne,
Okay.
Fox, and Brock, and then I think they had a
And
second rounder.
Horace Ivory.
Horace Ivory. I had the wrong Jag running back.
The one final piece of the
Ike
trade
Forte.
Tom Owen.
Yeah, he's a backup quarterback.
Spent 4 years as the backup.
All right, Kyle from Pembroke writes in, I just want to say thank you for the amazing work you do. After listening to national shows like First Things First and Undisputed make a mountain out of a molehill that was Belichick waving Zappe and Cunningham, I've gained even more respect for the hard work that you guys and the other local shows do in preparation to give us accurate reports and well-educated opinions. I guess a question to go along with this would be, besides the quarterbacks and running backs, were there any surprises in the final roster?
I mean, I think we talked a little mere speed, a little bit of a surprise. But, no, I think they went pretty bare bones. I mean, it's other than speed and maybe Sean Wade.
How many misses did you have in your last one? I didn't do an updated one, but I think I had 4 misses.
I had probably quite a few because I did mine before Pierre Strong was traded and before the tackles came in. And, but like we're talking about before all the, I see a lot of people out there like, I only had 2 misses. It's like, well, you did it on Monday after Pierre Strong. It's like after they made all these trades, you updated your roster projection. Like I could have done the same thing.
So fraudulent. I saw that yesterday.
Yeah, and I was like, wait a second, like this.
How could I have been better?
Yeah.
How could I know more?
We're talking about the same person.
Oh,
shoot! I'm on the outside of this one.
No, you're not. You know exactly what we're talking about.
We'll tell you off the air.
Okay.
We're trying not to make fun of too many people. Anymore.
There's still 31 minutes left in the show. There's a pretty good chance I'll say it.
Well, I want to hear Fred's Brady thing.
His,
Brady
well, we were at
thing.
practice. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh my God.
My goodness.
And Tamara.
And Tamara.
What was the mood? Who wasn't there? What did he see?
All right. Well, the Patriots had very similar attendance to yesterday. So the absences were Tyquan Thornton, Riley Reif, Devontae Parker, and one new absence, no James Ferentz. So practice squad, James Ferentz now, but no James Ferentz. So those are your 4 guys that were in at practice, in stadium practice today, out on the game field, and they were in blue and white scrimmage jerseys. So probably a procedural practice. They weren't in pads, so it's not like they're going all out scrimmage style. So I would assume that they're doing, sideline and like substitutions,
and that's why they're in the stadium.
And that's why they're in the stadium. So
that's usually what we get the in-stadium practice.
Yeah, similar to the in-stadium practice.
But if I was Bill, like probably between now and the Eagles game, we're going to get different kinds of weather. It might rain one day, there'll be wind one day. I would have Rylan in there every day kicking for every change of weather that I could do.
Why do I have the feeling that Fred is going to mock me so bad when, like, poor Chad Ryland goes out and misses a field goal?
The ball just goes sideways.
No, just to see the differences in the wind
He's going to kill me.
Fred.
He's going to kill me.
What?
Fred, he doesn't need that.
Well,
I want to know why?
Why?
Because he's played football in places with really bad weather.
No.
It's
but
not like he went to school.
But it's not that.
It's
how does this stadium affect the wind?
Right.
Well, I think now
that's why it's not
with
like
the new scoreboard
kicking in the rain, but how in this stadium with the new. Because Bill knew, like with the old stadium, okay, when it's windy, I know this is what's going to happen. But this stadium, he doesn't know yet.
Yeah,
that's fair. The stadium,
the new scoreboard is. You can tell just standing on the field how much less windy it is, because all of us have stood on the field for countless times, and it's usually pretty windy regardless of if it's really that windy outside, because it was the open horseshoe and the wind would funnel in. With that scoreboard, there's not a whole lot of wind out there anymore.
Yeah, Bill said there was a huge difference last year because that's when that scoreboard was up. Obviously it's just operational now, but he said there was a big difference between years past and last year.
Yeah.
I will say one thing I do like about him is that he's played in Michigan, and he's also played in Maryland. He's from
Ohio
Pennsylvania.
State.
Like he's played in places where the weather is not great. It's not like he was a kicker at University of Florida. Like he has actually played in places where the weather is.
But part of the home field advantage is knowing the tendencies of your stadium.
Yeah.
You know, knowing
because Maryland for some reason's in the Big Ten, so they played.
Yep.
Right.
Michigan State, Ohio State, which I still can't figure out. But
Penn State.
And plus, didn't he started at Eastern Michigan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So obviously he had some bad weather games.
What'd you think of Gonzalez in 6?
Yeah, I'm a little upset about it.
It would have been better than 0.
It's no Bill Russell.
Look, someone Someone else can ask the question, but I do wonder, like, is 0 just
Shot
not in
down.
circulation?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
where
that'd be my guess.
Like, nobody gets 0.
No, too flashy. Don't like it. Barely wanted to give Parker 1.
Just
You're
kinda-
calling attention to yourself when you get 0.
Yeah.
Oh, God forbid.
Right.
The
Right.
first-round pick who might actually be good at football draws attention to himself.
0.
By the way, the top-ranked number 6 in the NFL, Jay Cutler.
Thank
Oh boy, that's
There it is.
There
Thank you
go.
very much.
And there it is.
Well, it
And
was
there it is.
it was a Nick Folk number 6. So
Yeah, we talked about that.
He's ranking highly in the all-time.
All right. So
I just had said there's no one's ever been good.
So
at our
PP
number
and the
6.
Deuce did their top 12 Tom Brady moments. We're getting ready for Tom Brady Day here, and so for the next 12 days, every day we'll have a different type of Tom Brady content. Not the usual stuff. There'll be some other, offbeat type of Brady content, but we'll introduce different things leading up to the game on September 10th. And so they did the top 12 moments, which I thought was great. Everybody loved it. People that saw it.
it's doing very well.
Yeah, it's doing really well. But what
Sex appeal.
if we did it again, I'd do it a little differently. I would really get granular with the moment. Like not a game, but it could be a moment within any game, won or lost, that you remember Brady for. One of the first ones that came to mind was the Urlacher when he deked out, Urlacher. That's a moment. Like I love that. You had this one as a moment, but the Brady to Brown overtime in Miami.
Yeah.
That was a great.
yeah.
That play was a moment for
It's
me.
one of my earliest football memories. Sorry.
I think Paul can help me there. I don't know if this is 01 or 03, but in Buffalo,
Horace
Brady.
Ivory.
No, Brady. Right. Brady got absolutely whacked. Got his helmet
Spun
knocked
around.
off, and
Nate
then
Clements.
got up and gave the first down.
Oh no! When the helmet got knocked off,
Yeah, he got
he
up.
did not get up and no.
Yeah, he made a first down gesture. After,
No, he didn't.
Not right. We gotta look. We gotta get the tape.
Let's get the tape.
Yeah.
Look at the tape.
I mean, it wasn't immediate, but he.
I
got
know
up.
I know the moment you're talking.
Yeah,
about.
he got up and,
Yeah.
and made the first down gesture.
The one on the that was kind of Bledsoe-ish on the sideline that he got.
It was
lit
in the
up.
field of play. It wasn't on the sideline.
Oh no, it was absolutely.
And he knocked his helmet off, and
maybe I'm thinking of a different play. You could be thinking of a different play.
maybe. Yeah.
So maybe we could both be right.
This was like, as you look at in the Bills press box, it was going right to left, and was probably on the New England 30-yard line where he got hit.
I can picture the hit. I just can't. I can't picture the immediate aftermath of it.
I do remember because Bills fans love to circulate
Yeah,
that for some reason.
but-
Like he didn't kick their ass for
right.
20 years,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Okay, I have video of it, but it doesn't go long enough. But I don't think that you're right.
Okay. Anyway, Brady kneeling down and Richard Sherman trying to shake
That was
his
the one I
hand.
was getting ready to say,
Yeah,
Fred.
that was a moment, right?
We got it. And after Sherman had talked, so much, you mad bro, and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and respected Sherman and the Legion of Boom, but like that moment where he reached down and Brady was sitting there with like thinking like that
Yeah.
was just finally a sigh of
yeah.
relief, like we got number 4.
Yeah, no, I did. The Bills fans love to put that one out there.
Yeah, he may have been knocked the beep out. I don't think he was doing first down sign.
And most people, Brady with his hands over the head after the 0-1 Super Bowl. That was like a moment that everyone
Looking at his
yeah.
like sisters, I think, was like shaking his head.
Not really high on this list.
The post game.
I have that one on the
Everybody
poster.
thinks we suck. When he said that
Against the Chargers.
yeah. And then you had
Some
the
of this
Moss.
I don't even remember.
The pass to Moss that broke 2 records in one.
Oh, that's a good.
Yeah,
one.
that was a
we had
moment.
That one.
That was
I
a
thought
great-
you guys
that was
had
a
that
great
one.
We
moment.
did.
Yeah.
Part of the game.
Yeah,
we
part
won
of the
games,
game,
but
right.
there are definitely some of those moments. I'm sure you could go through all those games and find a moment that you. Although I don't really know. What would you say for Atlanta for the Super Bowl 51? A lot of people were like, "Hey, that should have been number 1," which I respect. But I don't know if I had a Brady moment.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a
individual with that
Brady
one.
moment there.
I mean, there was a
Yeah.
bunch of them, but
Yeah.
Because
not
the,
a single
the
one.
Edelman catch is almost an interception, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't give that to Brady. Like,
Right.
right.
I looked at that, and obviously a lot of people disagree.
Yeah.
But I looked at that much different. Like to me, the Seattle Super Bowl and the Kansas City AFC Championship, like those were the Patriots just taking it from the other team as opposed to the other team capitulating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with
But do you guys have any other just moments that come to mind when you think Brady and
well, I mean, I don't know if this. I didn't watch the whole thing full disclosure, but Kimbrel Tompkins in 13
Against
is
the Saints.
still
Yeah.
like
That was like number 11, Evan.
there you go.
You didn't make it.
Right.
You didn't make it 2 in.
That one is to me like if you're talking about moments. No, I watched the teaser that we put out, and I don't think that's
So
on.
do we do this? Like that's what I was going to ask. Cause,
Yeah.
you know,
I haven't had a chance to watch
forgive
the
one
full
of the
thing.
people
I
that was
watched the
part of it, but do we put like? Is it
numbers?
Is it going all at once? Aren't they going individual?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like we haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah, I really that in the call, and then obviously the Red Sox winning that day too. Like that Boston Sports Day was just like iconic. That was Ortiz's grand slam in Game 6. So that's like that whole day was just
David Ortiz. David Ortiz.
This one might be more of a picture/video moment, but there's a shot of Brady coming out of the tunnel in Super Bowl 42 to start the game, and it's just a shot that has always stuck with me. Of what they were on the verge to go up again, not knowing what the outcome was going to be. But it's not really a moment, but it was kind of the last moment of that team where they kind of came out full firepower. Here we go for the Super Bowl. We know what happened, but that one for me too a little bit always
recently
sticks
saw
out
a clip of
Brady.
I know I just did the a clip of the the Kimbrel Tompkins one, and I mean I always like we were there. We all saw it. Like it was an unbelievable throw, but like just to see it from like. Again, from like 2 or 3 different angles.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Well, they asked Brady. There's a video
The
out there
throw
of
is
asking Brady,
ridiculous.
but Brady didn't even really.
No.
He said that was a blown coverage. He said that one was more about them screwing up than.
Well, I will say, I think
behind
it was Jabari Greer.
Yeah.
For the Saints, he mistimed his jump.
Yeah.
I know what Brady's talking about, but the throw was ridiculous.
The LaFell one to
The
me.
LaFell one
Every
is
time I
perfect.
see the LaFell one, I'm
and
just
that's
like,
the one he counts, right?
That's like and that's the one like the defensive back. Like you don't even realize he caught the ball because it was
Perfect.
just so
The coverage was
perfectly
perfect.
placed. Like the D-back's like he's got it. Like you didn't
Do you know
even
that
see
kid
it come
like
in.
in flag football when you coach your kid, and you don't have to give me his name, but there's always that kid that like you could throw 100 balls to him when you're practicing, he ain't gonna catch a one, but every once in a while you throw one and it hits him like. He didn't have to move his hands.
Yeah,
and
it just goes right in the basket. Yeah.
That's the Brandon LaFell catch.
Yep. You
like
couldn't drop it.
Little Johnny could have.
We'll do it for you. We'll put it right on you.
We're gonna make this so you can't drop it.
Well, so Brandon LaFell, Brady gives Brandon LaFell a lot of credit for the catch because
it was not an easy catch, but he put it
because his
right
arm.
there.
I think one of his arms was getting held by the defender. But I just the Kimbrel Tompkins one, just like who he did it with. Like he's just like driving down the field with like Austin Collie.
Well, the other part, people forget like the clock. Like, how many times have you watched an NFL game and you see teams like they're going to give you chunks here and there, but you know what? We're going to get you around the 20, 25. You're only going to have time for 1 or 2 plays. They never score, and that was what that was. Like there was like 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
And they had to get it in. That was just an incredible
that like moment because they hadn't won the 4th Super Bowl yet, so and they had a tough season like in 2013 with all the injuries and things like that, and like Peyton Manning could never.
Poor Patriots fans. They hadn't won the
Peyton
4th
Manning
Super Bowl yet.
could never he could never go down the field with Kimbrel Tompkins and Austin Collie and Aaron Dobson.
I know that
never.
this was intentional. I know this was intentional, but he actually did do it with Austin Collie.
Yeah, when Austin Collie was decent.
Before he was concussed.
Before he was
He did it with Austin Collie and Pete the waiter, right? Fred, you remember who Pete the waiter is, right?
When we always
Pierre Garçon.
When we joke, like they always say, like Belichick will say, like Johnny from Foxborough High. That was literally Johnny from Foxborough High.
I agree. I agree. That was Johnny from Foxborough High. Peyton Manning did that with Johnny from Foxborough High too.
No, he had Reggie Wayne.
Just not as often. He didn't do it. He didn't do it in the Super Bowl with Johnny from Foxborough like Brady did.
One more.
Yeah.
09 Buffalo. First game back, missed all
Ben Watson.
2008. The Ben Watson, like just
He played
that
so
little
bad that night, but when he had to have it,
like and there was terrible Bills carrying the kickoff return out and then fumbling Merriweather hit him.
Leotis McKelvin.
Yeah, Leotis McKelvin. What a name.
Fred just looks at me like, "What is wrong?"
I know, but that was a moment too.
Pat New Hampshire says, I love the top 12 Brady moments from Paul and Deuce. Hard to argue with the list. But I wanted to share my favorite Brady moment. 2011 AFC Championship game, 4th quarter, down by 4 points, 4th and goal from the 6-inch line, and Brady takes a snap, reaches the ball over the goal line as fast as a shortstop turning a double play. The Ravens had no chance to stop him, but Brady paid the price with a vicious hit from Ray Lewis that almost broke Brady in 2. It ended up being the game-winning touchdown capped off with an FU spike in the end zone.
And a miss.
I remember that.
I must have missed.
He did get hit.
I do remember that. Yep.
Did he
I
get
must
hit?
have misinterpreted what you were saying. So no, they're all together. It's like a 16, 17 minute show.
Oh yeah,
it's like
That's
a TV
why I
show.
said I hadn't gotten through the whole thing.
And when I saw it, I'm
Judge
like,
for that.
we should have packaged it as a
Well,
half-hour show.
you know what
and
I was
sold
thinking,
it.
Fred, is if we wanted to just like pad it a little bit, we could just do some highlights of some of the games that just missed and just put some voiceover. So we don't really have to shoot new stuff. We could just be like,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
we'll
06 San
we'll do
Diego. You
that.
could add another like 5 minutes into it, so you got
Or
22
maybe
for the full show.
Maybe
I'll have
some
to get my
interviews with people
khakis.
who were involved
Ah,
or something like
yeah.
that. You know.
Okay, 30 for 30.
Somebody,
No, exactly.
but somebody tweeted at me that they liked it, and they were like, "Oh, we should do ones for Gronk and Edelman." And I thought that I'm like, I could picture the Gronk ones. So the Gronk ones would be fun. Like, there's a lot of just like crazy plays.
Against Washington when he's carrying like 6
Yeah,
guys
the
on his
Broncos
back.
one.
The Broncos
The
one.
Broncos catch.
Yeah, the
even the first. I don't know if it was the first preseason game, but against the Rams here, and he like dragged 3 guys into the end zone as a
Yep.
rookie, and you're like, this guy gonna
right
be a
underneath
beast.
us.
Yeah,
The end zone right underneath the press box.
must have known.
Let's see. Anthony says the exact moment when Butler intercepted the pass in the Super Bowl and Brady went crazy
Oh,
with
yeah.
Josh. That
With-
was my
and
favorite
Aaron Salkin.
moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, and Stacey and Aaron Salkin.
And Michael Girovati.
And despite his best efforts, Jimmy Garoppolo could not get involved in the celebration. Brady was like, "Yeah, go over there."
Stevie says when Brady raises the trophy and yells, "We're bringing this sucker home" from the Atlanta Super Bowl.
I don't remember that.
In fairness, I don't remember half of these.
Him with his hands on his head. I have that on a poster.
Shaking his head.
Yeah,
like,
that,
Can you believe
that one
this?
is awesome.
Because I do think he said he was looking at his sisters at that point.
So I
his
think
family,
that
and
like
saying,
when the
just
statue
what
happens,
unreal.
that's in the running. I think for what that
Well,
statue
that's
is
another
actually
good
going to be.
segment. It's like, if and when there's a Brady statue, what should be the pose?
I just think that classic pose, standing in the pocket,
throwing. Yeah, that's beautiful.
getting ready to throw a pass.
I always
like
really
like the
not
guy
like a 1950s
Daryl
football card.
LaMarnica.
Wait, like the one on the back of the door? That one?
I always really liked, and this would be if you did them together. But there's a really good shot right after that San Diego win in 06 of Tom and Bill like kind of giving each other the handshake with this like little grin on them. I like, you know, that would make the list for me if you were considering maybe doing both of them at the same time. That was always a good shot.
That's a game that, you know how the Kansas City game is thought of.
Yeah.
You know, like that game should be thought in that kind of a light, but it's not because they didn't win it all.
Yeah, I brought it up on the show when we did it. I mean, I've talked many times about being at that game, and it was one of the coolest, experiences of my life. But, when you really look back, it was that in Kansas City. Are those the only 2 road playoff upset wins that they had? And because otherwise they were pretty much playing at home,
Yeah,
right?
they lost all their other playoff games on the road.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 wins that
I can't think of another road.
Lost to Denver.
Lost at Denver
3 times.
Yeah, the Champ Bailey loss to Denver was my first Patriot heartbreak. That was tough.
That's the one that
they
got
just
me
didn't have
hooked.
it that night. I think they were just out of gas.
Yeah.
Like the 3rd year in a row trying to go deep in the playoffs. They didn't have it that night.
They were close though.
Because they were champions. Like to beat them.
That was also
even without their best.
That was a touchback, and I'll stand by that.
But even if it was, it doesn't really,
Don't put context. It was a touchback.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen a replay that shows it definitively, but I know Patriots fans will go to their graves thinking
Absolutely.
that.
Well, they're right.
And maybe we can have a bake sale and we can put some cameras on the goal line.
Oh.
That's what Bill. That elicited the first time.
Well, now with next gen,
the first time that he's used that line.
dots. Like, look at the dots.
Look at the ball.
That dot is out of bounds.
Yeah.
855 Pats 500. Sean's in Connecticut. What's up, Sean? Sean is gone. Christian in L.A. What's up, Christian?
Hey, you guys. How you doing today?
Hey,
Good.
Christian.
Okay, so my choice for the Brady statue would be the face he makes just after he says "Let's go." That kind of Brady yell that he does. My favorite Brady game would be the Brady's back game against the Saints when he wins with the last second throw into the corner of the end zone.
Yeah.
And then I have 2 actual questions. And could you guys please answer both questions? You always answer one question. Anyway,
It's mean.
what do you guys think the odds are that once Coach Belichick steps down, that assuming that we do well this year and beyond, that Bill O'Brien inherits the team? Or is it more likely that Josh somehow finds its way back into the fold and inherits the team? That's question 1.
Less likely that Josh.
What about Mayo?
Yeah, what about Mayo?
Gerard Mayo.
Well,
I like Mayo.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you do.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
Gerard
do.
Mayo,
You always
too.
do
I
this.
hadn't factored him in. I don't know.
Yeah,
why.
I don't
No
think Josh
disrespect
has
to-
much of a
Yeah, I
shot
don't
at
think
that.
Josh either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't think he has a chance to come after all those
I
years
didn't say he didn't have a
gave
chance.
us
I don't.
built
I would
up?
put his chances behind those other two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then football question. Assuming both Keyshawn Butte and Mario Douglas do exceedingly well and the other receivers hold their own, do we have to cut someone to bring Tyquan Thornton back, or is that the purpose of him starting the year on the injured reserve list?
You don't. You have 11 offensive linemen. My guess is at
By
least
that-
two
by week
of those
5.
will go probably by week 2.
Yeah.
At least 2 of those guys will be gone.
That's
maybe,
what it is.
maybe even 3.
Yeah, Thornton's out 4 weeks, right?
He's out 4 weeks.
Yeah.
By that time that Thornton's ready to come back, the offensive line's going to be back to a normal number.
Or other people who have gotten hurt and be
Right.
on injury. I don't
So
think it'll be
spots
Russ.
will open up for
Playing
him.
playing time though might be an interesting debate.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
How those guys
like,
do.
who does he replace in the game flow?
Well,
Like,
he
if they're
could come
playing-
back and
if-
not be active for a while
Right,
on game day.
If they're really good, if your scenario unfolds, then they may just leave him on IR.
Right.
We're talking about
They could
Tyquan?
do that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what if I mean, it's a hypothetical.
Thanks, Christian.
Don't roll your eyes.
No,
You
no,
haven't
no,
even asked
no,
the question
no,
yet.
no. I'm just trying
What
to.
if Demario Douglas and to a lesser extent Keyshawn Boutte, proved to be really productive fourth options, fourth and fifth options. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Thornton just gets activated when he's ready.
But if you don't really have much going, maybe Douglas has
Yeah.
contributed a little bit, but Booty hasn't, and it's
You
a little
could
bit
cut one of
slow
them.
from Parker, maybe.
You could
or,
cut one of them
know.
and put them on the practice squad at that point, if that's where you want to go. Or you could just have them be inactive on game day. Like I said, I think the offensive line is where there's too many bodies.
I mean, I'm not overly optimistic that this will be the case, but I could say along these lines, like it could be kind of hard for Tyquan to crack the lineup when he gets back and healthy if things were to go particularly well with some of these young guys.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you this question because you killed my buzz on Tuesday
Sorry.
about Mapu.
Sorry.
Are you prepared to kill my buzz on Douglas too?
No. Oh, no.
Because I don't think he's going to be a huge
no.
part. I don't think he'll be a huge part of the offense.
I think he's.
I'm
gonna-
where
I-
you are on Mapu with Douglas.
I mean, I'll just my Douglas thing is I think he's the third and long slot receiver. Like he'll get with like Danny Amendola towards the end like that. Not a big role, but he'll come out and when we need somebody quick and inside, we'll swap Juju for him. Maybe more, but I don't have that high hopes. But I just still think he's unique and he provides more of a unique presence than Thornton does.
Yeah.
Like Thornton, it's like
but he's already
he can get open.
I love Demario Douglas. I think he can get open. I think he's going to be exactly what Deuce just described. But he's already hurt, and he's tall, he's small, and he's already hurt. It's the same thing that we're dealing with Tyquan. It's
in a weird way. I feel like if the wide receivers all do well with Tyquan not playing, I could see him potentially being traded next year and just being like,
oh yeah. I mean, I
We're
think
fine
traded
here,
or
bye.
cut is definitely a possibility going into year 3. But I think the only way that Tyquan gets on the field is if they really feel like, all right, him running down the field and maybe taking the safety with him, that is going to open up this, and this. And we don't really have that out there right now. And if they feel like that's a problem, is that they're so condensed and they do need somebody that can get down the field, and maybe he has a role doing that. But I with the coaching thing, what are the odds? We always throw out Bill O'Brien, Gerard Mayo, Josh.
I think the odds are that it's none of those. That would be my best
So-
odds is someone we don't know.
So
field.
the thing that I've sort of felt always is I think Mr. Kraft's going to want to make a splash higher. I don't think that he's going to want to just take Gerard Mayo and make him the head coach, because if you lose Bill Belichick, whether it's to retirement or because they part ways or whatever, you can't just hand it over to some the next guy in line or anything. I wonder if there's somebody out there that's a big splash.
Like a Sean Payton prior to this year.
I mean, look at his 2 head coaches. As the owner, it's Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick. You don't get much bigger. I mean, I know Pete was in there
I was
too,
gonna
but
say, don't forget about Pete.
But
was Bill that big
in-
at that
But in
time, though?
fairness, that is 3 Hall of Fame coaches.
Right. You're not
Now,
talking about.
he didn't hire Parcells, and Pete Carroll wasn't hired as a big splash hire.
No.
Really, Belichick wasn't either. But that's kind of I'm with it. I think the field is what I would pick.
I just wonder if it's a big college coach comes free or.
So
or
while we're
somebody
talking
else.
about this, do you think that the next coach has the keys to the kingdom? You know, is he given full control?
It depends.
I think they
Yeah, it
need to
depends who
hire
it
a
is.
GM and a head coach.
Well, it depends on who it
Depends
is.
on who you hire. If you're
Right.
hiring
Separate.
Gerard Mayo, then I have to have a GM.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be macro or someone like that.
You know, but if I'm hiring someone
But what do you
outside the
think-
organization,
What do you think Robert Kraft would prefer? A high, you know, a big name coach who will
great
want
question, Fred.
One-stop
who
shop,
will
I
want
think.
all the control, or somebody who, you know, maybe not proven yet but has a lot of potential, really smart, and you give him a GM.
I think my preference would be to have a one-stop shop. To have one guy who could do it both, ideally, because it's less communication. It's easier to get on the same page with someone when they're managing both the personnel and the coaching, and they're picking the players that they want to coach. And
But you got to give it to
know.
someone
But-
who
it's hard.
can
I
do
mean,
that.
and it's
That's
a
not
big
easy.
leap.
But I also feel like you run into an issue when you have someone doing both, because then they're so stubborn and you end up in a situation where like this person is not evolving and like
They're
seeing
too
where
married
league
to
is
the
going.
picks because they're their
Yes.
picks. Yeah.
And they're too
Yeah.
married to doing things their own
Yeah.
way, and like
I could imagine something like
it's
that
just,
happening.
I don't know. I just think it takes a really good relationship to split the atom as the
Yeah.
head coach and the GM. Like, there's not a ton of teams that I can think of. Like, I guess, like, Pittsburgh with Tomlin and Colbert for years. Like, that was a really good pairing. The Chiefs now have Reed and Veach, and that's worked out.
Well, Carroll and Schneider.
Yeah, Carroll and Schneider is a good one too. Well, they've like cooled off recently,
Right,
but
but
yeah,
while they were good.
Yeah, that's a good one too. But I think you really have to have, like, to Mike's point, two guys that have the same vision.
Well, just-
and the second that those visions counteract each other, then the whole thing
as
falls
long as
apart.
the coach has final say, like real final say, then I think it could work.
I just think Vrabel and John Robinson kind of an interesting, like two guys who
Yeah.
came through a full system. You'd think they were on the same page, and then
Right.
Robinson's
and,
out.
and these guys all have like alpha egos. You know, it's hard. It's when things are going right, everything's great. But the minute things don't go right, fingers start to be pointed.
It's a good question.
I also
What
just
he would want,
like
Fred.
I don't want a defensive coach again.
I don't either.
Oh, screw you guys.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
James Pettigrew, the most interesting Patriots fan in the world, says, "Can we have a button on the Brady statue that when you press it, a tape recorder with Fred's impression of your honor speech comes on?"
Yeah, I think that would be a nice touch.
Whose honor?
Yeah,
Your
we
honor.
do the whole thing. Like you asking whose honor, and me saying whose honor, and then you
Respect.
saying whose honor.
Your honor, your family's honor.
why have I never heard
The
that?
whole thing.
Oh, have you heard the real one?
No.
It sounds just like that.
Well, that's a
Not
perfect.
really.
It's a perfect
It's a
impersonation.
It's a caricature.
It
of
is not.
Your family is honored.
It is not.
Oh, Brady's voice tends to go up.
It's not. It's kind of like
Nobody's voice is.
Go back to that Buffalo game. When he came back off the torn ACL, it was like it's right in his hands.
Yeah, I
Like-
know. Oh, that was funny.
that one.
interaction. Yeah, I guess.
Nobody's
let's just
voice
settle
is
down
worse
now.
than Patrick Mahomes. Like every time he's talking, I have to turn the TV off.
You mean
I just
Kermit
can't.
the Frog?
Yeah, he
Or
sounds
that.
like Kermit. He does.
Yeah, I just.
I watched a little of that quarterback show. It made me like Patrick Mahomes a lot more. I still don't really care for his lady, but she was all right on the show. Like I don't know. It just
I feel
it
like
shows them as
she-
people, and you're like,
I feel
Aw,
like
they're
she got
people
talked
too.
to.
That's
You
nice.
do have your random hatreds.
I do.
That really.
Well, she's
come
not
out.
that random.
No, not.
Oh,
She earned it.
She earned it, but I do
What do
think
I care
someone
about
talked to
her?
her. I do think someone talked to
Oh,
her.
he did.
Someone
He
did.
talked to her
down.
and
Because she toned down a ton, and his brother.
yeah, well, his
No,
brother's in trouble.
I don't know if she,
Yeah.
so she toned down, but in Kansas City, she's in the box now. And,
Oh, the
and so
ownership
she,
box?
yeah, so she doesn't. She's
Ah.
not out with the
No,
with the
those-
fans.
Those
so
are the
there's
ones I don't
hoi polloi.
like. Those are the ones I don't like.
So
Those are the ones
I
don't
think
like.
that they put her there because there's less cell phone videos now of her losing her
Doing stupid
marbles.
stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
I've workshopped this upstairs, but
Oh, that's good.
it clarified for me that she was the older girl that he was kind of pining for in high school, and then that he was able to land her, and so that's why I think you always kind of hold that first girl in high school you had a crush on kind of a pedestal. There's never
Nope,
ever
I
going to
know.
be another girl like that. That was for me, but I don't know. I think that's why it explains a
would
little
that
bit
be,
to
Mike?
me. I can't say it on the air.
Yeah.
She was a hockey cheerleader, and let's just say I
A
spent my
hockey
freshman year.
cheerleader?
Cheerleaders
Sure,
have
Lane's
high-
not listening.
Hockey cheerleaders, yeah, they just do a lot of stomping. It's not really
Oh, yeah.
so much of
What
the
is going
acrobatics. It's a lot of just stomping on the stands and clapping.
We made them all
Acrobatics.
nervous now.
Interesting. Okay.
They should come out on skates with the pom poms.
I miss you, Jen
No.
Siliberto.
Oh,
Jen who?
Can we run that back?
No, but her name was Jen. But I didn't. When you're stupid in 8th, 9th grade, and I remember thinking maybe I should drop a note in her locker. I never did. But when you're a kid, you're trying to you got your first crutch, and you're like,
That's so awesome.
I like her.
Oh,
But I used to just sit when I was a freshman on the hockey team. I didn't play.
Jen Vitale for me. So we have
Jens,
something in common. It's
you
Jen.
sit in the back row. I'm not playing. I might go in at the end of the game if there's cleanup time, and I just sit there and watch the go get 'em, go get 'em, get 'em. Watch all their little cheers. I had them all down.
What is that?
Aggressive. B-E aggressive. Come on, you know them, right?
B-E-A-G-G-R-E-S-S-I-V-E.
Aggressive's what we want to be aggressive.
Wow.
You should have been more aggressive with Jen.
I wasn't aggressive. I didn't drop the note in her line.
I had no idea how much my absence was. What did you say?
Are you seeing a
I wanted to see if
therapist?
he's seeing a therapist.
No, I've worked
Sounds
through all
like
this,
he's
Fred.
working
I'm
this-
beyond this. I'm beyond all
I
this.
told you, workshopped it all out.
Yeah.
Wow.
No Jens for me.
My absence up there has been felt. I'll tell you.
But you
In
did
the
come
owner's box?
upstairs yesterday. I forget what it was.
Just to celebrate with you.
Yeah.
Seriously, for no other reason
yeah.
than to
Something good had happened.
for the three of us to sort of crow about. Oh, there's a surprise. You were able to cut guys and not have them get picked up.
Yeah.
Like 22? Was it 22
Yeah.
people? Like
Yeah.
less than 3%.
As soon as that
Get
happened,
claimed on waivers.
There's Paul just coming in to.
And then Nico
to-
dapped him up. Like
Yeah.
Nico was giving
that
a
was
whole
very,
thing
that
to
was
him.
very odd. I don't know what the hell's going on up there now that I think of it.
All right. What's going on with Catch 22 today?
We're doing it at 3:30 after
Yeah.
locker room.
3:30.
It's right here on your post-it note.
So I know. I'd like to get interaction going. So 3:30 for Catch 22. As far as this show, we're going to say goodbye until next week. But before I do,
3 shows
And just so you know, next week,
Wednesday,
full regular season mode,
yeah,
right?
we're back
All
to
video
3 a
too.
week.
All video.
All video.
We
but
got to hurry. We got picks.
But
next
let's talk
Thursday.
stats. Bob's Discount Furniture has sofas that convert to sleepers when you're feeling sacked, mattresses that put you to sleep as soon as you touch down, and thousands of highly rated styles that keep the home team happy. Shop at Bob's, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. All right, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.